Chapter 605. Old Man Pai and the others said that they would set off in 3 days, but they only waited for 2.5 days before they arrived. They seemed to have chosen the most difficult road in Izhou. General Guitu waited by the river and asked Zhang Zhong to go out. Zhang Zhong was still discussing with Fang Sima how to make the local people live a better life when he was informed to receive the imperial edict. The person who announced the imperial edict was Old Man Yao. He didn't put on any airs and didn't need to set up an incense table. He handed the imperial edict to Zhang Zhong and said, "Yongcheng, this is the imperial edict. Take a look. Go out and meet General Gua. Then you can come back and continue your work. If you need to transfer Chongpingsong, you can go to Izhou Prefecture to get it. Remember to write it into a memorial and send it to the capital." The meaning in his words was very clear. That was, Zhang Zhong, you should still be the provincial governor in Wing Prefecture. Don't you need to worry about the logistics? Don't you want to take care of the local people's lives? If you don't have anything, go to Izhou to get it. You can decide how much to take. Just let me know. Hearing Old Man Yao's words, Zhang Zhong opened the imperial edict in confusion. The more he read, the more shocked he was. Didn't they say that Izhou was not easy to manage, and that's why he was transferred here? Why was there a war in the blink of an eye? Logistics? Grain officer? Without any preparation, where would the grain come from? Old Man Yao and the others saw Zhang Zhong's expression and were very satisfied. It meant that the 2 masters of the Zhang family didn't tell Zhang Zhong. Even Xiao Bao and Cuckoo didn't tell. They did a good job of keeping secrets. It was good that father and son could do this. They didn't know that Zhang Xiaobao didn't tell his family because he didn't want them to worry. Besides, it was useless even if he told them. The responsibility fell on him and Wang Wan. There was no need to worry. After being excited for a while, Zhang Zhong rolled up the imperial edict and calmed down. He nodded and said, "Zhang Zhong accepts the imperial edict. I'll go to see General Gua now." After that, Zhang Zhong turned back to change his clothes. In fact, he just wanted to ask his son and daughter-in-law what was going on. War was not child's play. If something were to happen, they would not be able to bear the consequences. Zhang Zhong's reaction made the 3 old men even more convinced that the 2 masters of the Zhang family were Zhang Zhong's backbone. Otherwise, how could he be so calm? When Zhang Zhong found his son and daughter-in-law, the 2 of them had just finished writing a plan. Wang Wan had written about the grain deposit, and Zhang Xiaobao had written about the local governance. "Xiaobao, do you know about this imperial edict?" Zhang Zhong was very angry. As soon as he entered and saw the 2 people, he asked Zhang Xiaobao with a sullen face, "Xiaobao, do you know about this imperial edict?" "I know, but Grandpa didn't allow me to say it. Besides, it's useless even if I did. Do you think I can just not come just because I want to?" "Father, you don't have to worry about this. It's all been arranged. I have a plan for economic development here. Take a look. Me and one won't be able to be with our family for a while. We have to go to the front. Father, you just have to do as I say. Don't worry about anything happening." The moment Zhang Xiaobao saw the imperial edict, he knew that it was time to leave. He and Wang Wan had to go. Otherwise, in the situation where there was no communication, the situation on the battlefield was unpredictable. It was easy for something to go wrong. He handed the plan to his father. With a bang, Zhang Zhong angrily slapped the plan to the ground. He pointed at Zhang Xiaobao and said, You didn't even discuss such an important matter with us. You want to anger me to death? Do you think it's enough to spend money on war? Is it as easy as governing? You let me. You sigh." As Zhang Zhong spoke, he suddenly sighed. He realized that the result was the same whether his son and daughter-in-law told him or not. The emperor asked them to come here to do something. How could they not come? Even if the 2 families knew about it in advance, what could they do? In the end, the responsibility fell on his son and daughter-in-law. As a result, his son picked up the plan. Zhang Zhong frowned and asked, "My son, you just stay in Yingzhou and command. Can't you not go? Swords and spears have no eyes." Zhang Xiaobao shook his head and said, "Father, How can I command if I don't go? This time, only 15,000 soldiers will be dispatched. They are divided into 15 reinforced battalions. 5 battalions will be dispatched from Jianan Circuit, and the other 10 battalions will be dispatched from Shannon West Circuit. There are too few people. It must be a sudden attack. If they win, everything will be fine. If they lose, if there is even a little bit of logistical problem, they will have to bear the responsibility. Not to mention that the emperor wants his subjects to die. Even as a member of the Tang Empire, we have to fight. The people of Wangjiang are still waiting for us. This is a matter of the people's hearts and dignity. If you don't fight back after being bullied, they will bully you next time. Besides, Cuckoo and I are only in charge of logistics. We won't go to the front to fight, nor will we leave the border. The furthest we can go is to the border to find a safe place to hide. Who will target 2 children? When Zhang Xiaobao said this, he was very grateful for this era. Not to mention the martial arts, even the literati respected martial arts. Living in this era was much more comfortable. There was no such thing as being bullied and not daring to fight back. If you kill one of my people, I will slaughter your village. Otherwise, how could Korea and Japan be my subjects? Zhang Zhong was also excited by his son's words. He usually practiced swordsmanship and archery. When he thought that his son and daughter-in-law would not rush to the front, he was relieved. My son, since this is the case, then go. Remember, be very careful. Bring the members of the Zero team. I will also train the other members of the Seedling Protection team. If there is a shortage of people, you can make up for it. Remember to bring more people from the inner yard. I will wait for you to avenge the people of Wangjiang. Zhang Zhong suppressed the reluctance in his heart and patted his son's shoulder. At this moment, Zhang Xiaobao suddenly felt an inexplicable sense of excitement. It was just like when he had lost someone he could rely on to find his own path. He was not afraid, but filled with confidence and anticipation for the future. Zhang Zhong changed his clothes and brought his son and daughter-in-law to meet Guo Tu by the river. The team was not small. There were 56 members of the Seedling Protection Team, 30 people from the inner yard, 200 guards borrowed from Li Sun and other idlers. It took them more than 2 hours to meet General Guo. Tuesday Zhang Zhong was nominally the person in charge of this matter. Naturally, he was the one to talk to Guo. Tuesday Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan accompanied him. Guo Tu looked to be in his 40s. His beard was not short from his cheeks to his ears. He did not look like a scholarly general in Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's imagination. He spoke straightforwardly and did not show any respect to Zhang Zhong. It sounded like he was constantly questioning Zhang Zhong, asking if he had prepared the provisions. Zhang Zhong did not get angry with the other party. He answered briefly, and the meeting was over. Guo Tu arrogantly led the team and left hurriedly. The team began to return, but Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan stayed behind with a group of people. They looked at the departing team, called out to them, and followed behind. I don't understand. Why did they send people from the Shannon West Circuit instead of those from the Jianan West Circuit? They might not be familiar with the climate here. Zhang Xiaobao muttered as he rode on the mule. They have too much money to burn, so they can train the soldiers. It's naturally easier for the border troops here, but it's also impossible for the soldiers in other places not to train. I reckon that Li Longji is planning to go big this time. Speaking of which, we are also responsible for this. Who asked us to govern this place so well, especially when we gave away so many technologies for the people's livelihood? If it weren't for those technologies, Li Longji would still be worrying about the lives of the people. Now he can relax. Any person in power will have thoughts of expansion when they know that the economy can develop. Wang Wan was also riding on a mule. She was biting on an unripe apple in her hand. It was bitter and astringent, but she still enjoyed eating it. She also answered Zhang Xiaobao's questions while she was at it. Zhang Xiaobao nodded. That's about right. Who cares what he thinks? We'll just live our lives. Luckily, I made preparations in advance. There are indeed many horses. Is the terrain suitable for riding horses? I don't know what they're thinking, but the distance from here to Jinchuan City in Jinshui is about 150 to 160 kilometers, right? Let's see how they're going to get there in 10 days. From the map, there's a small mountain there. It's the most difficult snow mountain to climb back then. Do you think they can just go around it? It'll be fine when they get to Jinchuan. There's a big river there and a flat plain. It's suitable for cavalry to attack. If it were me, I would let the light infantry go first. The cavalry at the back would be responsible for transporting the armor. The infantry's mission is to kill every village they see. Even if they don't kill, they have to lock them up. Once the cavalry went around the mountain and caught up with the infantry in front, the cavalry would split up. One group would go north and then east across the Ruo River to harass the reinforcements that might appear in the northwest. The other group would go down, ignoring the surrounding villages, and force their way into Danba City to feign an attack. A group of infantry would also follow behind the Danba cavalry to create momentum. Each person would raise a stove and change the group flag to the formation flag, driving the people to Jinchuan City. The rest of the infantry would split into a battalion to form a formation in the north and south. The main force would move slightly north to the shore of the Ruo River. They would set up camp, secretly cut firewood, and sail day and night, diagonally facing Jinchuan City. The cavalry at the front would go around the city to block the reinforcements coming from the west. They would lead the people into the city, encircle but not attack, wasting the provisions of Jinchuan. They would wait for the enemy to move troops from all sides to encircle and suppress them. In the northwest, the light cavalry would go south and point their swords at Jinchuan. When they crossed the river at Jinchuan, they would retreat. The cavalry in the west would take a detour and cross the river together with them. Feigning an attack on Danba, the infantry would cross the river and flee to the west. They would try to lure Danba to send troops to form an encirclement with the soldiers of Jinchuan City and the enemy. At that time, the battalion that drove the people away would quickly regroup and retreat to the border. The cavalry and the camping troops would go down the Ruo River and attack Danba. After that, they would retreat from Chengdu and place the troops on the west side of Danba. They would either succeed in converging with the troops attacking Danba, or Wang Wan couldn't go to the front line to command. She could only talk about strategy on paper. As she talked, she didn't say anything in the end. That meant that the other troops had given up. Zhang Xiaobao didn't know about this kind of military matters. When he heard Wang Wan's words, he sighed and said, "It's really based on Jun Mo's words. A general success is built on the bones of thousands of people. I don't know about war, but according to what you said, it's better to equip the cavalry that feigned an attack on Danba with 2 or 3 horses. When the infantrymen converged, the horses would be distributed to the infantrymen. After that, the infantrymen would finish luring the enemy and attack Danba. A small number of them would row boats to the south and wait for a while. Those who have horses would use the speed to go around the river and cross the river to the south. Maybe a few more of them would come back. Let's not talk about this anymore. It's not like I'm the one leading the troops. The situation on the battlefield is constantly changing. No one can grasp it so well, especially when we don't know the information of the enemy's generals. If Danba sees an opportunity and doesn't make a move, then all of our arrangements would be ruined. Or maybe the general of Jinchuan is a simple-minded person. When he sees the enemy coming to attack, he clearly doesn't know how many troops the enemy has and leads the troops to cross the river and attack the main camp of the infantrymen. This will also disrupt the plan." After Wang Wan finished explaining her battle plan, she felt comfortable in her heart. She swayed on the mule and followed the troops forward slowly. Even if she wanted to go fast, she couldn't. The next day, at noon, the sky became gloomy. The local people who were familiar with the weather knew that it was going to rain. If it didn't rain, it would probably stop at night. It would let the humid and hot weather cool down for a few days. Riding on the horse, Guitu raised his head and looked at the sky. His face also became gloomy. If it really rained, not to mention reaching Jinchuan in 10 days. They wouldn't even be able to reach Pingzhou. They would still have to travel through Jiannan province with difficulty. Every day they delayed would make it easier for Tubo to discover them. Great General, why don't we let the lightly armed infantrymen go first and watch over the local villages? After that, we can burn the fields and let Tubo fall into chaos for a while. Lu Jun was also worried. He rode to the side and suggested. Wei Wei shook Gutu's head. No, if the infantrymen go first, the cavalry will be even slower if they help to transport the goods. Perhaps by the time we reach Jinchuan, Tubo will have already arranged their troops and are waiting for us to attack. At that time, the advantage of the cavalry will be used. Moreover, although we said that we're going to launch a sneak attack, we don't really plan to launch a sneak attack. With 15,000 people, even if we can't take down Jinchuan, we will be able to make Tubo not dare to make any big moves. When the time comes, we will seize the land and harvest the food. Let's see how Tubo will deal with it. Will the soldiers of our dynasty not be able to wield their sabers? What this general is worried about is whether the provisions can keep up. If the army is everywhere and the provisions are not delivered within 5 days, this general will definitely not spare Zhang Zhong. Send out an order to the entire army to increase their speed. Take advantage of the time before it rains and make it out of a rainy area. As you command. Lu Jun also knew that if the infantrymen were to advance, it would be easy for Tubo to discover them in advance. If they really listened to him and something happened, he wouldn't be able to bear the responsibility. Thus, he could only follow orders. Xiao Bao, it is going to rain. This is really a bad start. I hope that our arrangements will be effective. I am puzzled. How did you know that it would rain? Wang Wan, who had also noticed the change in the weather, didn't sit on her mule anymore. She ran over to Zhang Xiaobao's mule and sat in front of Zhang Xiaobao. This way, when it rained, they wouldn't have to worry about the front and back getting wet. With a large umbrella, the two of them could lean on each other for warmth. Zhang Xiaobao hugged Wang Wan and took a few deep breaths. After he felt a little more comfortable, he said, "How would I know that it would rain today? I only know that it often rains in Sichuan. There are many mountains here, and when the hot air flows over, it will encounter the cold air flow of the mountains at high altitudes. In addition to the effect of the mountains, it is very easy for it to form rain. It is also good that it is raining. It will let Guitu see what logistics is. This time, we have paid a lot of money, and I don't think Li Longji will be able to return it to us. Maybe he will just give us some policies. I am thinking about what policies we should ask for when the time comes. Policies are better than giving money directly." I think so too. The imperial court won't be able to take out so much money to return it. What kind of policies do we need? Something that reduces taxes? That's not good. We should pay the taxes. If we don't, the country will be short of money. It would be best if it is related to the tea and horse trade. I remember that there was a person who was 3 years older than me in the courtyard where my family used to live. He made a lot of money by getting a customs clearance from his father. When he got a customs clearance, other people would partner with him to do business. They would split the profits 50-50. At that time, other people also advised me to ask my family for money to repair the roads. But I don't like to make money. Why don't we also have a road repair policy? Wang Wan was the person who understood the benefits of a policy the most. With a policy, there would be a lot of money. How could Zhang Xiaobao agree to such a policy? He said, "No, definitely not. Even if you give it to me for free, I don't want it. We might even have to fork out the money to repair the roads. Who are we going to earn from then? There are no tolls to be collected. It would be best if we could get a decree that allows free trade at the borders. Both on land and in the sea are fine." The rain finally fell from the sky. Guitu's team couldn't get out of the rain area. Not to mention that people and horses were walking on bad roads. Even if a sports car was driving on the highway, they wouldn't be able to avoid the rain. The range of the rain was too large. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's team put on their raincoats and umbrellas. Even the mules were covered with a layer of oilcloth. They continued to move forward in the wind and rain. Their speed was even faster than the army in front of them. Of course, the fighting ability of the team, led by the two people, was much better than the army in front of them. Although there were less than 300 people, it was not a problem for them to deal with the army in front of them. Quick, quick, faster. Find a place to take shelter from the rain. Guatu's beard was completely soaked by the rain, and his armor was also soaked. He wiped his face with his hand and shouted. There was no need for him to say more. The 15,000 people also tried their best to hurry on, hoping to find a comfortable place to rest. At least they had to set up their tents. In such a narrow place, they couldn't even set up a tent. There was a mountain next to them, and the water kept rushing down. After an hour, the path soaked by the rain became even more difficult to walk on. Just when Guatu didn't know where to vent his anger, a flat area finally appeared in front of them. A tent had already been set up there. There was a fire in the tent, and when the wind blew, they could smell the aroma of food. Guatu picked up his binoculars and looked around. He said to Xiao Ling, who was next to him, "Let's go and see what's going on." Xiao Ling nodded and hurriedly ran forward. Before he reached the place, someone came out to meet him. He stood in the middle of a road and also looked in their direction with a pair of binoculars. Ah, clairvoyance? What's up ahead? How come there's also a clairvoyance? Who leaked it? Guatu looked at the person in front of him through the curtain of rain. This time, he didn't feel uncomfortable, but angry. Could just anyone have a clairvoyance? There were marks in the army, and whoever had one would be recorded in a book. If everyone had one, how could other countries not have one? This thing was a precious treasure. Perhaps the person standing in the middle of the road also considered the issue of identity. He took out a flag, put away the binoculars, and pulled the flag open with both hands so that the people in the group could see it. At this time, the people in front of the group had already stopped and looked at this person warily. Guatu tried hard to look at that person's flag. He raised his eyebrows and asked, "Who knows what that flag is?" "It's drawn in a way that's neither human nor ghost. Looking at it vaguely, it looks like a rice sprout." When the army officer heard this, he remembered something. He moved closer and said, "General, are you sure it's a rice sprout? Isn't it a very interesting rice sprout with big eyes and thin arms?" "Yes." Guatu nodded in response. The army officer was relieved and said, "General, that's the flag of the Zhang family. It's the special flag of the family of Governor Zhang Zhong, who is in charge of logistics. It's between the clouds and the water." "Oh, I see. But what's his family doing here?" As soon as Guatu heard between the clouds and the water, he knew who it was. He was even more puzzled. At this time, Xiao Ling was near the people in front of the group. After talking for a while, he ran back happily. General, good news, very good news. This is the resting place that the logistics camp of Izhou prepared for us. They set up a shelter from the rain and cooked meat porridge. They told us to rest there. He said that there's also medicine. I'm afraid we'll get sick." Xiao Ling excitedly reported to Guatu, was immediately stunned. The army officer next to him called out twice before he recovered. He said in disbelief, "What? The logistics camp? How did they go to the front and set up a shelter? Let's go and have a look." Guatu wasn't the only one who was surprised. The other generals and soldiers were also surprised by what they saw. It was the first time they heard that the people in charge of escorting provisions were in charge of this kind of thing. When the group in front of the army entered the shelter, Guatu found the person in charge here. "General Gua, this way, please. There's tea and snacks here." "General Gua, you've worked hard," the person in charge here said respectfully to Guatu. Guatu felt that he was scolding people. If he had worked hard, what were the people here? Since when did the logistics team become so crazy? Yes, it was usually said that before the troops and horses moved, the provisions would move first. But it was just a saying. He had never seen it before. Today, he had learned something new. The people in charge of logistics ran to the front of the army and set up a shelter and porridge. If all the people in charge of logistics had this kind of ability, who would be the main force? Thinking of this, Guotu had to ask. If he didn't ask, he would feel that there was one more thing in his heart. At this time, he regretted his attitude towards Zhang Zhong in Izhou. He thought that Zhang Zhong, a civil official, couldn't do anything. Now he understood. Looking at the shelter, it was clear that it could be used to attack and retreat. It was actually set up in a marching formation. This was in the territory of the Tang Empire. He didn't even send out scouts. If the other party could set up such a formation, it meant that they were used to it. It wasn't deliberate at all. Could it be that the Zhang family had been in the army for generations? How did you get here? Guotu asked. Replying to the general, we came here in advance. The main family said that there would be a lot of rain in early autumn. In order not to delay the army's journey, we set up the shelter in advance. When it rains, we set it up. 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 Chapter 606. Hearing what the person in charge said, Guotu's face was burning. He was embarrassed to set up the tent in such a hurry. The tent was set up in the heavy rain, the fire was lit, and the meat porridge was cooked. If this wasn't good enough, then what was? No wonder the imperial court sent Zhang Zhong here in such a hurry. The imperial court did not send anyone else to be in charge of logistics. It turned out that this was the reason. Zhang Zhong seemed to have just arrived in Izhou not long ago. 5 days? How did he do it? General, take off your clothes first. Here is a clean towel. Your clothes will be dry in a while. The straw raincoat and bamboo hat are also ready. After the meal, we can continue on the road. If anyone is not feeling well, you can take some medicine. It's for colds. The person in charge still said respectfully. Guotu did not dare to neglect him at this time. His strength was there for all to see. He also said politely, "Thank you. I didn't expect to meet people from the logistics camp in such a situation. You came in time. You are really extraordinary." Guotu was indeed speaking from the bottom of his heart. It was the dream of every general to have such logistics to provide assistance to the troops. It was too comfortable. If they could not win the battle, they would be letting down the people in charge of logistics. The soldiers also made up their minds while drinking the hot meat porridge. Even if they had to die, they would kill more people. Otherwise, how could they have the face to come back and see others? Did they want to be a coward by providing good food and drink for them? Even a dog knows how to help bite people. After the meal, the clothes were almost dry. The soldiers put on their clothes, bamboo hats, and straw raincoats. When they moved forward again, they felt full of strength. General, look at the map. The road ahead is not easy to walk. There are continuous hills, and the road is slippery in the rain. Do you want to think of something, such as cutting some branches on the side? The team moved forward for another 2 hours, but the rain still did not stop. The officer held a military map printed with ink in his hand and said to Guotu's day. This map was sent to the imperial court by the Zhang family. When Guotu saw the map, he sighed again. With the help of the clairvoyance, the Zhang family seemed to have prepared everything. Looking at the terrain on the map, Guotu hesitated for a moment and said, "Let's go there and take a look. The road here is narrow, so let's go quickly. If we really can't go up, we can cut down branches nearby." Half an hour later, when the team in front arrived at the foot of the hill, Guotu, who had seen the situation through the 1,000-mile eye, was shocked again. There were many people laying sand and stones on the hillside in the heavy rain. The sand and stones had been laid from the bottom of the hillside to the top of the hillside. Beside them, there was a flag that was wet and rolled up by the rain. It didn't need to be unfolded to know what was painted on it. It must be a cute rice seedling with a pair of big eyes, indicating that it was from the logistics battalion of the Zhang family in Izhou. Run forward. If anyone is delayed, you have to ask for punishment from the logistics camp. Mother ***. Did you see that? This is what we call logistics. Unimpeded. Everyone follow me. Guo shouted excitedly, and the order was passed down. The team in front rushed up the hillside in an orderly manner. When they stood on the hillside and looked down, they saw that the road here was also paved. The other hillside in front of them was also paved with sand and soil. At first glance, they knew that it was paved in sections. Looking at the figures in the rain, bending down and shoveling sand onto the road, it would be a lie to say that they weren't moved. All the soldiers had a different feeling in their hearts. If the logistics camp could do logistics to such an extent, then what about the main force? This battle could only be won, not lost, even if there was only one person left. Many of the soldiers had tears in their eyes as they walked through this so-called most difficult yet easiest mountain path. When Guo walked over and looked back, he said with emotion, "Zhang Zhong is really amazing. No one dares to challenge the Zhang family's logistics. This is good. We don't have to worry about the logistics not being able to keep up. I just don't know to what extent they can do logistics." Lu Jun listened on the side and agreed. General is right. After we win this battle, we must thank Zhang Zhong properly when we come back. No wonder the emperor transferred Zhang Zhong from Shuzhou to Yingzhou instead of sending someone else. No one else could do this. This kind of logistics is too scary. Lu Jun nodded and said, "You are right. After winning this battle, we must thank Zhang Zhong properly when we come back. I just don't understand. How did they arrange all the way to Yizhou? Where did they get the time? I heard that in the imperial court, Zhang Zhong's name has long been familiar, and no one is allowed to impeach him. At first, I thought it was fake. Now it seems that it is true. Whoever impeaches Zhang Zhong has bad intentions. Not to mention that such a person rarely does anything wrong. Even if he does, he is right. No matter where he is, he can immediately take care of the local affairs. What's the big deal if he makes a mistake? General, don't you think so?" "Yes, that's right. If someone badmouths Zhang Zhong to me, I won't be willing either. If I have someone like Zhang Zhong as my subordinate, if anyone dares to badmouth him, the first person I'll deal with will be that person. Then I'll ask who asked him to come here. Zhang Zhong is really too comfortable to use." Guo nodded in agreement. He had decided that after winning the battle, he would give some of the things he got to Zhang Zhong as compensation for his previous rudeness to Zhang Zhong. At that time, Zhang Zhong didn't lower himself to his level. Otherwise, he would have done something to the logistics. Now he saw that not only did he not do anything, but he also arranged it very carefully. When he looked down on Zhang Zhong, he was actually looking down on himself. At this time, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan also arrived at the location of the first shed. The two of them were not in a hurry. Everything in front of them was arranged. The team stopped to rest and listen to the report of the person in charge. "Young master, young lady, Guotu's team has already gone over. What do I need to do here?" The person in charge brought a big bowl of soup and said to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Zhang Xiaobao glanced at the soup and praised, "Not bad, you put in a lot of ginger. You don't have to worry now, it's still raining. Once the rain stops, we'll act according to my plan. We'll move the logistics forward. Cuckoo has made some calculations. This attack might not be successful, so we must be prepared," Zhang Xiaobao said as he handed the new plan to the person in charge. The person in charge took it and respectfully left, so that the young master and young lady could drink the soup. As for whether the young lady's judgment was wrong, he didn't even dare to think about it. What the gods said was right. He had never encountered a situation where he was wrong. It was fine to move the logistics forward. It didn't cost him anything. Wang Wan had learned to maintain appropriate silence when doing things outside. Her mother and Zhang Xiaobao's mother had taught her that when she was with a man outside, she should try to let the man take charge as much as possible. No matter how capable a woman was, she couldn't show it, let alone show that she was better than a man. Wang Wan was very obedient, not only because of her mother and future mother-in-law here, but also because it was also like this at home. Even for father occasionally overdid things, her mother wouldn't say anything to him face to face. When the person in charge left, and there was no one around to disturb the two of them, Wang Wan poked Zhang Xiaobao and said, Didn't we agree that I would be in charge of things on the battlefield? When did you write the plan? How come I didn't know? Drink the soup, drink the soup. And the soup is not bad. There's a lot of aged vinegar. Try it. Zhang Xiaobao said evasively and pushed a bowl of soup in front of Wang Wan. I'm asking you a question. Please answer it directly. I just realized, Comrade Zhang Xiaobao, after being with you for so many years, why can't I see through you? Wang Wan glared at Zhang Xiaobao and said. Zhang Xiaobao smiled and said, Actually, I don't know you very well. Even if I had the chance to know you, I wouldn't know. Think about it, we were originally a police officer and a bandit, so we know each other very well. We live together here. If we really know everything, then what will we do when we grow up? Will we still have passion in bed? Men and women are attracted to each other in mystery and conquer each other as they gradually understand each other. Don't you want to use your own judgment to conquer me? So you want to conquer me? What do you mean by passion in bed in the future? Why does it sound awkward to me? Do you mean in the future, I'll lie in bed and wait for you to conquer me? You've made it clear. Wang Wan's eyes widened. You can conquer me in the future. I'm easy to talk to. Drink the soup while it's hot. Zhang Xiaobao realized that he really didn't understand Wang Wan in this matter. What future? I'm conquering you now. How old are you? You dare to talk like this. You have to respect me. Wang Wan reached out her hand to pinch Zhang Xiaobao, but stopped. She knew that this little bit of pain had no effect on Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao decided not to continue this conversation. He nodded and drank the soup with his head lowered. If his ears were good, he would be able to hear his vague words. Respect you conquering me. I'll save my energy and enjoy it when I'm passive. After Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan led the team to rest and continue on the road, Guotu's team came to a difficult place to walk. This time, they didn't have to worry about the mud. The road ahead was full of bare stones. Some were round and some were sharp. It was very difficult for the soldiers to walk on them. The main reason was that the armor on their bodies was too heavy. If they were not careful, they would sprain their ankle or cut a wound on their calf. Guotu looked at the seemingly endless road. The first thing that came to his mind was not how to cross it, but whether the logistics camp would appear again. He stopped and looked around with his clairvoyance, hoping to get help. Just as he was about to be disappointed, a team appeared from a nearby mountain valley. His eyes lit up. General, look, are those people from the logistics camp? Too many. Where'd they find so many mules? At the same time, Xinjun also saw the situation over there and shouted excitedly. Chapter 607. Today, there is an official who travels 1,000 miles to come here. Glistening white rice, cook it for me to eat. Kindness far away in the water. Today, there is an official who travels 1,000 miles to come here. Fine it into salt and add it for me to eat. Kindness far away in the mountain. I think. The mountain knows, the river knows. Add to my clothes and feed me medicine. I am willing to rule with you. After his son and daughter-in-law left, Zhang Zhong suppressed the worry in his heart and began to govern. There were only about 4,000 people in a province. It was a small number, but no matter how small it was, they were still common people. Since they had come, they had to let the common people live a good life, even if their purpose was not AI. There was nothing to do anyway. Opening the plan left by his son, Zhang Zhong read it from beginning to end. He had a rough idea of what to do. He ordered the servants in his family to start implementing the plan that very night. Old Man Pai and the other two also stayed in the manor. It was not that they did not want to go to the front and take a look, but the weather was really unbearable. With their old arms and legs, they could only join in the fun with the Zhang family, with the presence of a doctor. If they really had to march, they would die of exhaustion on the road. The three old men could not find anything interesting to do. When they were about to go and see Xiaobao and Cuckoo, they found a very serious problem. The two children were gone. They had seen them before, and Xiaobao had even told them a story. How did they disappear in the blink of an eye? After some questioning, The three old men were dumbfounded. The two children were too bold. They actually ran to the back of the army to help. If something happened, wouldn't the Zhang family and Wang family go crazy? They immediately sent 50 guards to chase after them. Now that it was almost dark and Xiaobao and Cuckoo had not returned, the people chasing after them did not believe them. When they found out that 200 of Li Sun's men had followed them, they were not so worried. They thought that as long as they followed behind and did not cross the border, nothing would happen. That night, the Zhang family and the Wang family did not work overnight to build a house. Instead, they found thick branches and started a bonfire on the flat ground outside the city. They ate the oily roasted meat, drank the boiled rice wine, and sang and danced. The commoners who helped out were also invited to join in the fun. Zhang Zhong did not mention anything about wages at all. When the commoners came to work, they had no intention of asking for money. When they saw the other party inviting them to work, they happily ate, drank, sang, and danced together. The Zhang family and the Wang family had people in charge of entertainment. They knew many kinds of dances and were very adaptable. If there were locals who were willing to learn, they would teach them. If there were locals who danced by themselves, they would learn and dance with them. The atmosphere was very harmonious. Even Zhang Zhong had put down his pride and pulled Jiang Wang clan to dance around the bonfire. Even the 7 children were dancing and shouting. It was hard to tell what style they were dancing in, but they even sat on the ground. The commoners originally liked to be lively. They would sing and dance when there was something to do. However, in the past, other than harvesting, farming, marriage, and funerals, it was very difficult to find a time when so many people gathered together. The total number of people in the Zhang family and the Wang family was more than 1,000. This was not the village, but the inner courtyard and the doctors. Old Man Chang was alone, while Old Man Pai and Old Man Yao's family were more than 500 people. This was under the condition that each family sent out 50 guards. The two people were having fun on the flat ground outside the city. It was so lively that the remaining commoners in the city could not stay still. They all dragged their families out to join in the fun. If anyone wanted to sing for everyone, there would be improvised accompaniment by the band. There were even dancers who moved to the music. The commoners did not know how good Zhang Zhong was as an official. They only knew that this new official was a good person. He was not like the previous officials who occasionally came to check on them. They ate and drank for free and did not pay attention to the commoners. They did not even sing or dance with the commoners. The second impression was that the wine in this official's family was delicious, especially the rice wine that was cooked with shredded ginger and fruits. It was sour, sweet, and cold. Together with the powder in the roasted meat, it was also good. The best impression was that this official's family members could sing and dance. They had many musical instruments. When they sang and danced, there was immediately someone who came to play with them. Where could they find such an official in the past? Good official. That official's wife was also very good. She could not even sing to her. This ability was worthy of respect. The commoners were satisfied, but the 3 old men were dumbfounded. They had lived for so many years, but this was the first time they saw the provincial governor bring his family and commoners out to play in the middle of the night instead of sleeping. What do you mean? Old Man Chang did not believe that Zhang Zhong was so free that he would mess around. Especially after understanding the Zhang family's way of doing things, it seemed that every action had a deep meaning. Old Man Pai and Old Man Yao were also puzzled. This was not the style of the Zhang family. Didn't Zhang Zhong have a pattern when he became an official? First, he would find work for the commoners, then give them wages. When they worked, they would eat well. Then, he would find a way to lead the commoners to make a fortune together according to the local situation. In the process, he would also lend money to the commoners. The interest rate was very low. What was wrong with him today? He actually did not give wages, nor did he mention anything about loans. Could it be that he was sick from being cheated here? Old Man Pai drank a cup of medicine wine and also drank half a bowl of rice wine. He waved his hand and called over a person from the Zhang family's inner courtyard, who was in charge of delivering the wine. What is your family doing? If you don't sleep today, can you still get up tomorrow to build houses? Old Man Pai asked the person who walked over. In reply to Sir Bai, there is no rush to build houses. Everything will be done according to the plan. Winter is still far away, so the houses can be built slowly, the person respectfully replied. What is the plan? Old Man Yao asked from the side. The local economic development plan. Master said that every time I come, no matter what I do, as long as I am the provincial governor, I have the responsibility to let the commoners live a good life. Even if there's only one commoner, I can't ignore it, let alone more than 4,000 people. When the war is over and I withdraw, I have to at least double the income of the commoners. The person who came was still very respectful, but when he said these words, it made people feel his arrogance. Old Man Pai and Old Man Yao looked at each other. The two of them really didn't expect the Zhang family to do things like this. They were still busy with logistics, but they didn't give up on this place. If it was any other official who dared to say that they could double the income of the commoners in Izhou, they wouldn't believe it. But when it came from the Zhang family, they had no choice but to believe it. Waving his hand, Old Man Chang signaled for the person to go back to work. He didn't ask for details because he couldn't ask. The Zhang family and the Wang family each had their own division of labor, so the person who delivered the wine definitely couldn't know the details of the plan. If only all the officials of the Tang Empire could be like this. Zhang Zhong is a bit stupid, but he can't find fault with the way he acts as an official. He is wholeheartedly devoted to the commoners, has never been greedy for taxes, and has never accepted bribes. It's hard to find someone like him, really hard to find. Old Man Chang took a big bite of meat, swallowed it, and evaluated Zhang Zhong. Old Man Pai also drank the rest of the wine in his bowl and said that's because his family has the ability to make money. How much can he be greedy for? Even if he wants to accept bribes, he needs someone to dare to give it to him. Giving him money once isn't even enough to let him relax a little. The government makes a lot of money doing business, so who can afford it? If he gives less, wouldn't he be scolding Zhang Zhong? That's true, but what's the meaning of Zhang Zhong jumping around now? Xiao Bao and Cuckoo have left, so it's not good to ask Zhang Zhong directly. Old Man Yao also admitted that the Zhang family's way of doing things wasn't easy to learn. The main reason was that there were very few officials who could make money like the Zhang family and think of ways to let the commoners earn money. Building roads required money, and if they didn't have money, they had to wait for the imperial court to give them. That would be troublesome. Since it's not easy to ask, then let's wait and see. I'll be able to figure out something. I'll write it down and let other officials learn from it. Old Man Pai drank some wine and felt comfortable after relaxing. He leaned back in his chair and narrowed his eyes as he waited for the results. Zhang Zhong was still dancing with the commoners. He didn't have the talent for dancing, so he looked awkward when he danced. Fortunately, the commoners didn't care about how others danced. Most of them were actually dancing for themselves and for others to see. When they gathered together, there was food and drink, and they were happy when it was lively. The bonfire party didn't end until dawn the next day. People were arranged to send the commoners who were tired from dancing and fell asleep in the middle of the night, as well as the commoners who drank too much and fell asleep to their homes. During this time, there were a few doctors here to take a look at them. If they were sick, they were directly sent home with medicine. They also wrote down the method of boiling the medicine. Those who couldn't read would naturally find someone to ask. The next morning, both the Zhang family and the Wang family were sleeping. They only woke up when it was about to rain in the afternoon. The cook made a large amount of pastries, and the craftsmen used local materials to make a few hundred fishing rods. They also prepared the bait. When it started to rain, Zhang Zhong opened a large umbrella and led a few dozen people to the riverside to fish. Old Man Pai and the other two also put on an extra set of clothes to fish with them. The commoners, who also woke up, were busy with their own family matters. while others were holding prescriptions and asking people how to boil the medicine. There were also some who wandered out to see if the new official had anything to do. When they saw the official who had danced and sang with them yesterday fishing by the riverside, they also came over to join in the fun. Zhang Zhong gave everyone fishing rods and prepared pastries at the same time. Suddenly, there were a few dozen more people. After the commotion last night, the nearby strongholds on the mountain all knew about it. They all sent people to find out what the new official was going to do. It would be good if he wasn't going to force them to fight for rent. After understanding the situation in detail, the people in the stronghold were puzzled, but they also had more expectations. They hoped that the new official would dance again so that they could join in. After all, the new official had many musical instruments at home and many people who knew how to dance. When he was fishing, Zhang Zhong didn't care about how many fish there were. Every time he caught a fish, he would show off to the locals. Every time the locals caught a fish, he would go over and celebrate with them. He gave people the impression that he wasn't a provincial governor, but a very ordinary person. After the old man Pai caught a big fish and was flattered by Zhang Zhong, he said in confusion, "Is this still Zhang Zhong?" In the past, Zhang Zhong didn't do anything. He was polite and didn't panic. He didn't show any joy. He was so steady that it made people feel that he was like a towering mountain. Could this be a person changed by the environment? On the third day, there was no rain at night, so the bonfire party continued. This time, it was amazing. Not only did the people in the city come out, but many people in the stronghold also came out. The young chiefs of 2 strongholds also came out and joined in the fun. They drank and chatted. Zhang Zhong and the 2 chiefs had their arms around each other's shoulders and walked around. From time to time, they would joke with each other. When it was dawn, he gave the people in the stronghold a lot of rice, salt, and cloth. He talked with the 2 chiefs and agreed that tomorrow they would go to one of the strongholds to play. If they wanted to eat mountain delicacies, it wouldn't be interesting if they didn't have enough. The 2 chiefs also agreed and took away a lot of wine. They said that when they went back, they would let everyone have a taste. They had to come and bring their families, including the children. Otherwise, they would look down on them. The people in the stronghold were very satisfied. This official was too good. He was so good that he didn't seem like an official, but like the chief of a stronghold. The people were satisfied, but Old Man Yao and the other 2 were not. Zhang Zhong was such an official. Wasn't he smearing the face of the imperial court? They couldn't help but look for Zhang Zhong. Zhang Zhong received the 3 old men in the tent. The charcoal stove was burning, and a teapot was sitting on top of it. A tea set was set up, and the West Lake Longjing tea was placed to the side. The melon seeds and dried fruits were also placed around it. When the 3 old men saw this, they knew that Zhang Zhong was going to treat them to kung fu tea. When they thought of Zhang Zhong's actions yesterday and this morning, it formed a strong contrast, making it difficult for them to get used to it. After watching Zhang Zhong heat the cups, pick up the tea leaves, wash the tea leaves, and rinse the water, the 3 old men each took a sip and poured away the remaining tea. Only then did Old Man Pai, who had been waiting impatiently, open his mouth. Yongcheng, Xiaobao, and Cuckoo went so far away. It's better to let them come back as soon as possible. They can go out and watch the fun. They can't delay their studies. Old Man Pai didn't have the right to question them directly. He didn't have the right to question them, so he could only beat around the bush. When Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan said that it would delay their studies, even he didn't believe it himself. There was nothing left to teach. What needed to be memorized, the 2 people with high IQ had already memorized it all. They had the ability to understand adults and the memory of children. Now when Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were together with Old Man Pai and Old Man Yao, they were mostly discussing or learning from the 2 old men's way of thinking. When Zhang Zhong heard Old Man Pai mention his son and daughter-in-law, his eyes flickered. As a father, he didn't feel bad for them, but no one else did. If there was someone in the 2 families who could do this, other than Xiaobao and Cuckoo, even if they were only half as good as his son and daughter-in-law, he wouldn't have to let the 2 children go out. He sighed and said, Other people's children are still young, but Xiao Bao and Cuckoo are older. If they want to go out and play, they can go out and play for a few days. I can't control them. Yongcheng, don't be like this. I think Xiao Bao and Cuckoo are not bad. Before they left, they told me about the people in Ezhou. Unfortunately, I didn't have time to ask them. Yongcheng, do you know what the two children are thinking? Old Man Pai casually asked Zhang Zhong as he took the third cup of tea that Zhang Zhong poured for him. Zhang Zhong missed his son even more now. The plan didn't only write about how to carry out economic development, it also wrote about the reactions of the three old men. This was part of the development process. Otherwise, it would be really difficult to handle. Thinking of this, Zhang Zhong directly poured away the small cup of tea in his hand, which was already cold, and poured another cup of tea for each of the three old men. He didn't need Old Man Pai to continue beating around the bush. He straightforwardly said, "Sir Bai, are you here to denounce me? Say that I shouldn't have disregarded my position and played with the people like this?" Once the words were out in the open, the three old men really didn't know what to do. It was not good to say yes or no, but they couldn't say anything. Old Man Chang was more straightforward. He replied, "I have such thoughts not to condemn, but to ask what the deep meaning is. The Zhang family's way of doing things has always been difficult to understand. Learn from them. Yes, learn from them." Hey. Actually, I don't want to do that either. Wouldn't it be better to directly recruit workers and give them wages like the local people in Suzhou? The same trick can be used back and forth, but it definitely can't be used. Just like the godson I took in Luzhou. Do I lack a son? If you don't take in the mountain people, they won't believe you. The people here are the same. Each of the strongholds only listen to orders. Unless I am ruthless enough to send troops to suppress them. Otherwise, they will be the same as before after I leave. If it really comes to a point where I have to use force to solve it, it can only mean that I have failed. If the officials are incompetent, the people won't cooperate. Zhang Zhong began to complain. What he said was not wrong at all. It was all the truth. If he didn't think about the link in his son's plan and didn't scheme against the three old men, it would be perfect. The three old men didn't know that before Zhang Xiaobao left, he had dug a hole for them to jump into. When they heard Zhang Zhong's words and looked at Zhang Zhong's helpless expression, they felt the same way. Wing Zhou was not easy to govern. It took a lot of effort to collect the annual tribute. It was not easy to beg. If they didn't use some other means, they could not expect the local people to cooperate. Old Man Chang was not too particular. He drank the cold tea, smacked his lips, and said, "What do you have in mind?" Old Man Pai and Old Man Yao listened attentively. They wanted to see what other means the Zhang family could come up with in the face of such a situation. This was different from before. When Luzhou was in charge, the mountain people cooperated. One reason was that Zhang Zhong did give them benefits and even took in a son. Another reason was that the local people were affected by the disaster. Now that Wingzhou was not affected by the disaster, they couldn't think of a way to make others suffer. Zhang Zhong didn't speak this time. He seemed to be thinking, but he didn't forget to pour tea for the three old men. When the tea leaves were brewed for the seventh time, he said, "My solution is simple. Since I can't use my identity as an official to gain the people's trust, then I'll become brothers with them. I'll invite them to play now and go to their stronghold tomorrow. We'll give each other things. Don't let them think that they owe you, and don't let them think that you owe them. After a period of time, when you're familiar with each other, you can discuss with them how to get rich as brothers. That way, they won't think that you're lying to them. To be honest, I've even prepared the rooster and yellow paper. I even asked someone to bring me a scalpel. I'm ready to drink blood and marry them. I always feel that the prestige of an official doesn't depend on how powerful you are. It depends on whether you can make the people in the place you govern treat you sincerely, and whether you can make them live a good life. Even if I'm demoted now and don't have any official position, when I return to Sanshui County, will I still lack face? Will I lose face if I'm sent to Lu Zhou to be a scribe? Not to mention a little face, I'm even willing to give up my life. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. When Zhang Zhong said what his son and daughter-in-law said to him, he suddenly felt noble. The three old men were shocked. They did not expect Zhang Zhong to say such heroic words. At the same time, they had to admit that Zhang Zhong was right. This was especially true for Old Man Pai. He had seen with his own eyes the scene of thousands of people sending Zhang Zhong off when he left Hua Yuan County. He also knew how Lu Zhou came up with the 10,000 people watch. Not to mention that Zhang Zhong still had an official position, and the Zhang family and the Wang family still had business. Even if they had nothing, as long as they were still alive, as long as they were in a place like this, all they had to do was say hello, and thousands of people would get along well. So, if I don't do this, it's still wrong? Old Man Pai suddenly had such a thought in his mind. Zhang Zhong continued to pour the tea. This was the 9th time, and the color of the tea was still as strong. Old Man Yao was the first to react. He looked at the tea in the cup and asked, "What's wrong with your tea? Why is the West Lake Longjing tea so bland that I can't drink it anymore after 8 steepings? How can your tea still be brewed?" It's not that the tea given to Master Yao is not good. It's just that we've recently adopted a new tea frying technique. Moreover, the tea we picked is really good. That's why I can make 2 more steepings. The tea will be bland if I make 2 more steepings. It's just 2 more steepings. Please, Zhang Zhong said modestly, but he was very proud in his heart. Of course, his son and daughter-in-law had to keep the good stuff for their own family. It was good enough that they drank it. The tea they sent to the palace only had 7 steepings. They did not dare to send good tea. Otherwise, how would they explain if the tea was not good enough in a bad year? Old Man Chang did not care about the number of steepings when he drank tea. He felt that the thick and large steeped jasmine tea was better than the current Longjing tea. He had nothing to do with 100 steepings. However, Old Man Pai and Old Man Yao understood that even if there were 2 more steepings, the price would increase by several times. This method of drinking tea was no longer to eliminate indigestion. If one really wanted to aid digestion, it was better to drink black tea. There was no need to drink green tea. Drinking tea was a kind of status. If it was better, one would be better than others. Old Man Pai looked at the small clumps of West Lake Longjing tea in the tea box beside him. He finally could not help but say, "The new technique is good. Let's try it later." Who knew how many of them would come back alive, and how many of them would be buried in a foreign land? After changing into a pair of short spike shoes, she held a stick in her hand to prevent herself from accidentally falling down. She looked at the dark night sky and said, "The grain should have already been transported to the border. The follow-up grain is also being gathered. By the time we arrive, they should have entered Tubo's territory. It will be difficult to transport the subsequent grain. We can only wait for Guitu to send a message back to know where to send the grain." What was this? He didn't reveal the battle plan in advance and had to wait until after the border. Even now, I still don't know what his intentions are. I think it's not that he doesn't want to tell us in advance, but that he himself doesn't know how to fight this battle. Perhaps there will be changes at any time. If he tells us his plan now, what if it doesn't work when the time comes? That would be a scam. Let's follow him. This is why logistics is difficult. Zhang Xiaobao took a bite of the compressed biscuit and chewed it in his mouth, speaking in a muffled voice. After 2 hours, the vanguard of the army, led by Guitu, saw a path that led downwards diagonally. If they didn't take this downwards path and walk directly, they would have to continue on the small path. However, there was a sign erected at this place. Looking at it with the light of the torch, there was an arrow on it, and below it was a row of small words. "Go down, you can take a boat. Once you pass the border." The news quickly reached Tuesday. He led the army forward and looked at the sign before looking at the downwards path. Just as he was hesitating, the river below lit up. Under the illumination of the light, countless boats stopped on the river and moved up and down with the waves. This scene gave Guitu a fright. Fortunately, they didn't pass the border. Otherwise, he would really think that Tubo wanted to launch a sneak attack on him. Of course, this was just a sudden thought. He didn't think that anyone in Tubo would be stupid enough to launch a sneak attack from below. If they wanted to launch a sneak attack, they would lay in ambush on the mountain and throw down a rock. General, look at that flag. It belongs to the logistics camp. Should we take a boat? The army asked softly. He admired the logistics camp even more. They even prepared a transport boat. Along the way, they received a lot of care from the logistics camp. It seemed that Zhang Zhong lived up to his reputation. Did Guitu have a choice? If they didn't take a boat and continued on the mountain path, it would really delay them. Now, it seemed that if they took a boat and followed the river, they could even shorten the time by 1 or 2 days to reach Tubo's Jinchuan. He didn't hesitate and ordered, "All soldiers, pay attention to your feet. Get on the boat." Following the order, the vanguard began to walk down. As they walked, they realized that there was no danger. There was actually a railing on the side of the road. Even if they accidentally slipped, they would hit the railing first. There was also a place for a torch on the railing. If they stuck it up, they wouldn't have to worry about suddenly falling. Guitu looked at the railing carefully and said, "It's newly built." It seems that Zhang Zhong didn't have enough time to prepare it. Otherwise, he might have built railings on both sides of the road. I just don't know if they can still deliver the provisions in time after we pass the border. General, they don't even know how we are going to move. How would they know where to send the provisions? Moreover, the imperial court only asked them to gather the provisions. Once we pass the border, our army will receive the provisions. Do we still need them to continue sending the provisions? Lu Jun didn't think that Zhang Zhong would do anything more. What he did now was already good. As long as they didn't lack provisions when they passed the border, then Zhang Zhong's mission would be considered complete. Of course, this would depend on how the imperial court arranged it. If Zhang Zhong continued to take the opportunity to provide support, then the logistics camp would have to wait at the border. At the very least, they would have to transport more provisions to the border cities so that they could provide enough provisions when the army in front needed them. Guitu also knew that he was thinking too much. How could the logistics camp follow to the front? Even if they did, they wouldn't go too far. Zhang Zhong was a civil official and didn't have an army. The consequences of going deep into Tubo were obvious. It was just that the logistics camp did too well, making people reluctant to leave. Unfortunately, once they passed the border, it wasn't the logistics camp's world anymore. He raised his hand and rubbed his face that was a little uncomfortable from the cold night air. He also followed the group and walked down. Every time they walked to a place that they thought was dangerous, they would realize that not only were the railings beside them higher, there were even steps under their feet. Just like that, 15,000 people were separated into hundreds of boats and went down the river. By the time Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan arrived, the fleet in front of them was already nowhere to be seen. Now, we don't have to continue making arrangements for the matters in front. There's no way to arrange them anyway. It's good now that we don't have to worry anymore. I haven't seen what the border here looks like, so I'll go over and take a look. Wang Wan stood at the temporarily built pier by the river and waited for the boats prepared for them to arrive. Zhang Xiaobao's mind wasn't on the battlefield at this time. He was thinking about how to recoup his losses. This time, we paid 120,000 strings of cash in advance. Li Longji is a black-hearted guy, so it's impossible to expect him to pay us back. I'm wondering if we can ask him to give us a piece of grassland and raise some good horses there. When the time comes, we can ship them to various places and find rich people to participate in horse gambling. It's a very interesting activity. That's a good idea. Even if it's further away and the conditions are more difficult, it's good to have a piece of land in Fengzhou, which is also Inner Mongolia. There are grasslands and deserts there, and we can raise more cattle there. If the climate isn't good, we can plant some cash crops like jujube trees or grapes. Those things will be more expensive if we ship them back. Wang Wan couldn't do anything about this. Even if Li Longji didn't do anything and gave her and Zhang Xiaobao a chance to avenge the people of Wangjiang, she would have to think of a way to take revenge on her own. However, it was different now. Li Longji was the one who suggested it first. If they couldn't pay back the money, they could use the land in exchange. She believed that Li Longji would agree very quickly. That place wasn't a good place to go now. The winds in the desert were strong, the weather in the grasslands changed frequently, and there were many wolves in the wild. The population was pitifully small, and they were all nomads. Ordinary people wouldn't go even if you gave them money. If they asked for a piece of land there, wouldn't Li Longji go crazy with joy? Thinking of this, Wang Wan said to Zhang Xiaobao, "Do we need to send someone back to tell Grandpa bye and the others? We can only be at ease after we get the land." "Don't say it, we definitely can't say it. If we say it now, with those shrewd people in the imperial court and Li Longji, this emperor, who is not stupid, they will definitely tell us a lot of difficulties. They will also talk about how good Feng province is and make us take out new things to exchange. In the end, the land they give us won't be big. Don't we have an account of the money spent this time? When it's over, we'll send the account book to Grandpa Bai. He'll naturally know what to do. According to my analysis, the biggest possibility is that they'll come and ask us what we want. We can't count on money. When the time comes, it'll be easy to handle." Zhang Xiaobao didn't want to be so proactive. At this time, it wasn't as simple as a confrontation with a local official. None of the people in the imperial court were easy to deal with. It wasn't just a matter of economics anymore. It involved political exchanges. Political exchanges required wisdom. Unless there was a real falling out, whoever exposed their intentions first would be unlucky. The so-called exchange was carried out when both parties thought that they had taken advantage of the other party and made a compromise. The simplest explanation was that the other party had achieved their goals, but they were still pretending to be innocent after taking advantage of the other party. If the bear understood politics, it would want to eat honey in the monkey's territory, but let the monkey bring it up himself. It would also say that there were too many bees and that it needed to be compensated. The moment it ate the sweet honey, it would make the monkey feel that it had gained an advantage. Wang Wan nodded to show that she understood. She was even more puzzled. "Then what do you say?" "Say that you want all the management rights of the Tea-Horse Path," Zhang Xiaobao replied. "Impossible, unless you think that the people in the imperial court are all fools." Wang Wan didn't have any hope in this. Zhang Xiaobao looked upstream and said, "I also know that it's impossible. In psychology, this is called an inch when given an inch. Sometimes, it's better to use this method. In layman's terms, it can be said that we're asking for sky-high prices and waiting for them to sit on the ground and pay us back. As long as they refuse, we'll ask for a good place. The area has to be large. If it's not a good place, then the area has to be larger. If it's a place that's too difficult, then it's also fine. However, we need to waive 10 years of taxes and rent. We think that guy Li Longji will arrange for the place. He'll arrange for it to be in Inner Mongolia or the Northeast. Lingnan definitely won't let us go. Then how can you guarantee that you'll get the grassland?" Wang Wan immediately understood. Even if it was her, she would also arrange for it. Wasn't the Zhang family very powerful? Then let's see how powerful they are. If you want the land, then I'll give it to you. In any case, no one is willing to go to a bad place. If I give it to you, then I'll make it difficult for you. Zhang Xiaobao also thought the same. In fact, it wasn't referring to Li Longji. Many people wanted to see the Zhang family make a fool of themselves in business. This was a common flaw in human nature. It wasn't that they had to do anything to the Zhang family, but they subconsciously wanted to suppress the Zhang family. Otherwise, wouldn't the Zhang family become a legend? Wouldn't it be difficult for you? After hearing Wang Wan's question, Zhang Xiaobao said, "When it's about time, I'll give others instructions. For example, I'll vigorously develop hot pot, and say that this method is very good in the Northeast. At the same time, I'll use glass to make greenhouses to increase the output of vegetables in the off-season. I'll buy a lot of furs and use them to make beautiful winter warm clothes for our clothing store. I'll build ships at the estuary of the Yellow River and go to Liaodong Bay to hire local fishermen to understand the marine environment there. I'll also send people to open a new restaurant between the clouds and the water there. What do you think I'm going to do? What else can you do? Of course, you're going to wait until there's land there to develop. You're too evil, Xiaobao. I know you're doing this on purpose. You're letting people watch, but you don't want the land there. The only place left is Inner Mongolia. Are you trying to deceive us? Wang Wan knew Zhang Xiaobao's character. Since he wanted to get a piece of land in Inner Mongolia, he would definitely fill in the details and lead others step by step to get the land there. Although there were times when he failed, it also depended on whether Zhang Xiaobao was persistent. If he insisted, he would find a way to achieve his goal. Zhang Xiaobao had been thinking about this matter along the way. In an era of power, unless one was prepared to be the emperor and overthrow the original regime, it was impossible to face it head-on. However, it was not so easy to be the emperor, especially for someone like himself. After becoming the emperor, he would definitely do his best to do everything well. That would be exhausting. More importantly, it was very difficult to overthrow the current regime. Even if one spent more than a decade to prepare, they would first have to go to a remote place to be the regional historian. Otherwise, they would not be able to get soldiers and would have to learn from Lushan. After that, they would have to launch a coup, and the consequences would be even more severe than the Lushan rebellion. They would weaken the great Tang strength and give the surrounding countries a chance to see whether they would settle their internal affairs first or the other countries would make a move first. Even if they won in the end, they would be old. They might be in their 40s or 50s, and they would not be able to enjoy anything. In terms of enjoyment, it would be the excitement of war. However, there was no regional historian now. It was better to play games and enjoy life. Sometimes, it was more comfortable to influence an era in the dark than to stand on the stage personally. What are you thinking about? Get on the boat. The boat is here. Wang Wan waited until the boat arrived. Zhang Xiaobao still had a contemplative look on his face. She nudged him and stepped forward. Nothing much. I'll immediately send a letter back. Some things have to be planned in advance. Write a letter to Grandpa Bai and ask him to help find people who are not afraid of the cold while skiing in the mountains. At the same time, help train the guards who will be joining my family to resist the cold. At the same time, get the people in charge of business in my family to purchase aged black tea. Get the cloth merchants in the capital to send silk here. Get Grandpa Yao to take the lead and get in touch with the local officials close to the tea-horse path. Hire a team that frequently walks the tea-horse path at a high price. That's all. I'll add more when I think of something in the future. Zhang Xiaobao came back to his senses and immediately got on the boat to write the letter. Chapter 609. The water flowed, and it was never too late to be happy. They cooked cows and sheep, drank wine, and exchanged cups. Zhang Zhong really brought his family to the village. The three old men also wanted to see how life there was, so they followed along. When they arrived, the three old men found that it was not easy to come to a conclusion. If they said that the locals were not living well, all of them seemed to be very happy, and there was no sign of worry in their eyes. If they said that they were living well, all of their clothes were made of linen, and even the chief was the same. His face was obviously pale, and the little boy did not wear clothes, running around the mountain with his thighs exposed. This is the relationship between spiritual civilization and material civilization that Xiao Bao and Cuckoo often talk about. It would be good if we could let them obtain more material income without destroying their unity and upward spirit. Old Man Pai was now like a theorist who specialized in this field, and said to Old Man Yao and Old Man Chang beside him, Old Man Yao was also used to this kind of talk. Anyone could say it, and it was the kind that kept saying it. However, the most difficult thing was how to increase the income of the local people. The outspoken Old Man Chang asked for Old Man Yao's opinion. Yongcheng, what do you think we should do to increase the income of the local people? When Zhang Zhong heard Old Man Chang ask him, he was just about to say his idea. But after thinking for a while, he asked, I wonder if Uncle Zhang has a good idea. As he spoke, Zhang Zhong glanced at Old Man Pai and Old Man Yao, which meant that they had thought of a way. Old Man Zhang shook his head at the same time. If they had a way, they would have said it long ago. The food produced in this place was enough for them to eat. Now that they were close to the prefectural city, it was more convenient to go outside. There was also the village that was far away. Only the wild animals on the mountain could be sold for some money. There were many fruits, but no one wanted them. Using the method in Shuzhou to raise them? What could be raised on the mountain? This place seemed to be a place where people could ski, so that the commoners could earn a little money. However, not every mountain could ski. Seeing that the three old men couldn't answer, Zhang Zhong stopped talking about this topic. He pointed to the trees on the mountain and said, there are many trees here. Even if it is cold in winter, there is no lack of coal. Yes, cut them all down and make terrace fields. Old Man Chang thought Zhang Zhong was reminding them of the idea of harvesting the trees. So he immediately followed suit. Uncle Zhang, there are already enough mudslides here. Let's stop tormenting people. What I mean is to choose a mountain that won't affect the roads and people. We can cut down and plan on it. The skiers need to keep warm when they come here, so we can earn some money. This won't solve the fundamental problem. When Zhang Zhong heard Old Man Chang's words, he was shocked. If they really did that, the commoners here would be finished. Although they didn't deliberately protect the environment, they couldn't deliberately destroy it. They could make use of it, but they couldn't risk their lives and not care about the survival of the future generations and destroy all the resources. Now Old Man Chang understood that they were talking about the matter of skiing, not the way to make the commoners really rich. The four of them talked and watched. The Zhang Wang clan brought the 7 little ones and chatted with the 3 wives of the local clan leader with the help of the translator. Zhang Zhong wasn't afraid that his wife would say something wrong. Even if he said something wrong, his wife wouldn't do it. Even if the Zhang Wang clan didn't wear the title of nobility, she still looked dignified and amiable, which made the 3 wives of the clan leader feel very comfortable. Especially the 7 little ones' cute appearance. They immediately conquered everyone. Even the clan leader, who accompanied them, wanted to snatch one back and raise it himself. It would be even better if he could snatch 2. The few of them talked and laughed as they entered the hall in the stronghold. This was the center of the entire stronghold. It was made of stone, and the walls outside the stronghold were built with a mixture of stone and wood. The clan leader, Chang Hu, was very enthusiastic. He didn't care if it was time for dinner. As soon as they arrived, he began to prepare. The cows used for farming were killed, the sheep were killed, and all kinds of animals hunted in the mountains were killed. There was no need for other methods. In fact, they didn't have many cooking methods. They just took out the meat and roasted it. It was lively and convenient at the same time. Old Man Pai and the other 2 saw that the cows were killed and felt distressed. They glanced at Zhang Zhong. Zhang Zhong seemed to be indifferent. It was as if the cows were no different from pigs. While roasting the meat, the people in the stronghold danced and sang with Zhang Zhong and the Wang clan. Wang Wan's father finally played a role at this time. Although he usually didn't care about anything, he had a high tolerance for alcohol. He was the kind of person who drank until the cup was empty. He helped Zhang Zhong drink a lot of alcohol. Zhang Zhong didn't drink much usually. He was always drunk, so he usually drank some medicinal wine and wine. Even if he was socializing with others, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan didn't allow him to drink too much. The medicine and soup for hangovers were all prepared. Before coming this time, Zhang Zhong and the Wang clan had prepared. They specifically drank the diuretic medicine prescribed by the doctor. At the same time, they also made a medicine that simulated the absorption of alcohol into the blood. This allowed the alcohol to be excreted through the urine as much as possible. The people in the inner courtyard of Zhangzhong and the Wang clan were specially used to compete with others in drinking. They tried to eat as little as possible. That would fill their stomachs and make it difficult for the alcohol to be excreted. After mixing with food, more alcohol would enter the bloodstream. Chief Chang, who drank a little too much. When he wasn't drunk, he also spoke a lot. He hugged Zhang Zhong, who was also full of smiles, and said, "Brother Zhang, good official. I've never seen an official like you, especially one from your family. You can sing and dance. Don't worry, I'll pay the rent this year and also the tribute. Even if the other strongholds don't take it, I'll gather enough money for you to send to the capital. Then I'll have to thank Brother Chang Brother Chang, whose wine is also good. Come, let's drink." Zhang Zhong didn't care about the rent or the tribute. He just didn't want to send the wine to the capital. Who could do anything to him? This place wasn't like Shuzhou, where the annual rent was not high and the tribute was high. The rent from Yizhou was paid by the province. If he refused to pay the tribute, who would dare to impeach him? The rent was not even enough to cover the salaries of the two families. Wang Wan's father, who had a mission, also came over. He threw away the cup in his hand and said under the puzzled gazes of others, "It's not enough. Change bowls and drink." Chang, who also knew who this was. He was a rank 3 official. Seeing that the official was so bold, he also changed bowls. The other people who were drinking also changed their cups. Only Old Man Pai and the other 2 didn't move. They still couldn't tell what was good about the wine. Seeing Zhang Zhong praise it without blushing, the 3 old men were really helpless. If the wine was good, then what was the wine made by the Zhang family? When did the people who opened the restaurant learn to lie with their eyes wide open? As they drank, a problem appeared. The meat was mostly eaten by the people in the stronghold. The people of the Zhang family and the Wang family rarely touched it, but they drank a lot of wine. How much wine could there be in a small stronghold? Wine was made with grain. After Zhang Zhong drank another bowl of wine, the people in the stronghold found Chang, and whispered that there was no wine left. This time, Chang, who was dumbfounded. He was drinking to his heart's content, but the wine was gone. This was embarrassing. Could he tell the guests to stop drinking and drink all the wine? Just as Chang, who was in a dilemma, Wang Wan's father spoke. He said to Zhang Zhong, "In-law, I remember that we also brought a lot of wine when we came. Don't drink the same kind all the time. Let's change." Yes, if you didn't mention it, I would have forgotten. Indeed, Brother Chang, why don't you try the wine I brought? Zhang Zhong had been waiting for this opportunity. He was really afraid that they wouldn't be able to finish the wine in the stronghold, so he used a negotiating tone when he asked. After all, it wasn't good to take the wine when someone was treating you to a meal. Chang, who couldn't care less about anything else. All the wine in the stronghold had been drunk. Since Zhang Zhong brought the wine over, he might as well drink it. He happily agreed and ordered someone to follow him to get more wine. When the wine was changed, the 3 old men who had been drinking quietly poured out the wine in their cups. They held their cups in their hands and waited for someone to pour the wine brought by Zhang Zhong. Only after drinking the wine made by the Zhang family did they know what wine was. They thought that Zhang Zhong wouldn't send bad wine to the stronghold. Besides, the Zhang family didn't have any bad wine either. As soon as the people in the stronghold drank the new wine, they all became excited. It was good wine, and it wasn't brewed with grains. When they drank it, it was quite strong. There were all kinds of fruit flavors. Even the children drank a few mouthfuls and clamored to drink more. Chang, who drank a bowl of wine and smacked his lips. He looked at Zhang Zhong in confusion and asked, "Brother Zhang, where did your wine come from? Why does it taste better than mine?" Zhang Zhong thought to himself, "Isn't this nonsense? If my wine can't catch up with your strongholds, why would I open a restaurant? The most important thing is that you don't have a good son and a good daughter-in-law." Brother Chang, to tell you the truth, there are countless restaurants in my family. There are people who specialize in wine making in each place. They make wine according to the local conditions. This time, when I came to Ijo, I also planned to find a place to specialize in winemaking. It should be in Mengdao County. I want to make wine with strong flavor, not soy flavor. You wouldn't understand even if I told you. You just need to know that I want to build a winemaking place here. The wine you drink is made with fruits from Suzhou. There are wild fruits all over the mountains and plains there. No one wants them at all. In Haitian, no one wants them, but I want them. I make them into fruit wine. After fermentation, I add some white wine during the second fermentation process. See, the taste has changed. It tastes good and has a bit of aftertaste. When you drink it, it lingers in your mouth. After drinking it, you feel dizzy and comfortable. I originally planned to sell it in the restaurant, but unfortunately, before I could brew some, I came here and couldn't sell it. The main thing is that there are many people there who can help pick the fruits. There are also many fruits. It's a pity that a wine that can make you rich doesn't have the benefits here. Zhang Zhong seemed to have drunk too much. He squinted his eyes and complained to Chang Hu. Chang Hu was also confused, but he understood. When he heard Zhang Zhong's words, he had an idea and said, "Brother Zhang, there are many fruits here. And the Haitian you mentioned, is it this thing?" Seeing the residue left in the wine for some reason, Chang Hu wandered to the side of the wall and found several black fruits the size of soybeans. He brought them to Zhang Zhong. "Yes, this is it. It can also cure diseases. Are there many fruits here?" Zhang Zhong took one, threw it into his mouth, and swallowed it. "Many, many, many, the whole mountain is full of them. No one eats them, and people don't want them when you ship them to the outside. There is no need to be afraid of few people. Everyone, adults and children, will do it. Since you have nothing to do, you can take out and sell the good wine, and let others taste the wine here." Chang, who was simple and didn't know what Zhang Zhong was thinking. He felt that he had a good relationship with Zhang Zhong, so he wanted to help. Old Man Yao and the other two listened at the side. At this time, they finally knew what Zhang Zhong wanted to do. Instead of ordering others to do something, it was better to let others find it themselves. This move was really silent. No wonder he insisted on holding a banquet and a ball at the foot of the mountain. It turned out that he wanted to drink the wine of others and take out his wine to seduce others. Good ability. They couldn't help but be impressed. If all the local officials can be like this, why worry that the people of Tang can't live a good life? Yongcheng is usually listless and afraid of his wife, but now he is quite pleasing to the eye. Old Man Chang whispered to Old Man Pai and Old Man Yao. He felt that the wine in his mouth tasted better than before. Good wine. Many of the wild fruits here in the mountain have turned into wine, which is valuable. The first method is to build a ski resort. The second method is to make wine. Let's see what other methods there are. Old Man Yao was also in a good mood. Being able to see the local people living a good life was sweeter than eating honey. Old Man Pai was also very emotional. Seeking merit, not publicity. The Zhang family's way of doing things is still so unpredictable. Perhaps in the future, the people here will understand Zhang Zhong's good intentions. Zhang Zhong had already started to discuss cooperation with Chang Hu. Zhang Zhong began to propose to help the stronghold make wine and sell it for free. Chang Hu didn't agree. He wanted to help Zhang Zhong pick fruits for free. As for selling them or not, it didn't matter. Neither of them gave in. In the end, Wang Wan's father came up with an idea so that neither side would lose out. This year, they would let people pick fruits, and the Zhang family would buy them to make wine. They would make wine in the city and let the people in the stronghold learn. Next year, Zhang Zhong would no longer buy fruits. He would buy wine, do the second fermentation himself, and sell it in the restaurant. This way, no one would lose out, and no one would take advantage of the other. Zhang Zhong, who was in a daze, and Chang Hu, who was in a daze, agreed happily. The matter was settled in this way. After that, it was time to drink and celebrate. Zhang Zhong also sent a lot of spices to the stronghold to test on the barbecued meat. The taste was really good. The Zhang family will lose out this time. The wine will be sold immediately after the fruits are put away. The Zhang family needs to put in money first to give the locals a chance to make money in advance. The first fermentation will take at least 3 months to make wine, and the second fermentation will also take about 5 months to make wine. When did the Zhang family pick fruits and make wine in Suzhou with the locals? There don't seem to be many wild fruits there, and there's not enough time. As Old Man Pai spoke, he suddenly thought of this very important question. Old Man Chang explained, "Those are Luzhou's fruits. They've been there for 2 years. Of course, the taste is good. It's impossible to achieve this taste in 8 months. If the taste is not good enough, Chang, who will think it's not easy to sell. How can he agree? I think it will take at least 2 years for the Zhang family to turn the fruits in Yizhou into wine before they can make money. What's this called? Yes, holding the goods. The Zhang family usually likes to use the quasi-cash flow method when doing business. That is, they try to transfer as much money as possible. When doing business, they always put in a small part of their money and let the local merchants cooperate. If it weren't for the sake of the local people, they wouldn't be willing to put money here. That's right. I heard Xiao Bao and Cuckoo occasionally mention that there's a method called cash flow to make money. Something like borrowing, splitting, and mortgaging should be more profitable. However, Cuckoo doesn't seem to agree, and Xiao Bao also said so. I really don't know what kind of method it is. Why don't they use it? Old Man Pai also knew some things. He didn't know that this kind of business model would cause financial turmoil, especially when Zhang Xiaobao was operating it. In this era, if Zhang Xiaobao wanted to, he could mess up the entire financial system of Tang. The financial system was already unstable, especially when it came to currency exchange. Chang, who didn't know what this brother of his planned, and he didn't know the specific situation of the Zhang family. He didn't even know where Suzhou was. He only knew that this official was good, and Zhang Zhong's little guys were fun to play with. It was a pity that he couldn't snatch them. Looking at the 7 little guys, and then looking at his own children, the difference was like heaven and earth. Even if they changed into the same beautiful clothes, it still wouldn't work. Brother Zhang, how did you raise your children? I wish I could take a pair of them and put them at home. They sit there like little adults. When other people go over to talk to them, they always welcome them with a smile. My family's children are far worse. They are not big, but their tempers are not small. Chang, who pulled Zhang Zhong and asked with jealousy. Zhang Zhong thought to himself, of course. Look at who's teaching them. You haven't seen Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. Otherwise, wouldn't you be jealous to death? How can the methods of immortals be compared to mortals? Sigh. He didn't know if his son and daughter-in-law had suffered along the way. When this matter was over, he would really have to become an official in Luoyang or Beijing. He didn't want his 2 children to run around and suffer along with him. Sighing softly, Zhang Zhong put on a smile and said, Brother Chang, this isn't easy. Send your children to my place and see if they can play with Xiao Bei and the others. It'll be fine if they stay with me for a while. It's not easy to control my 2 children. If I'm not careful, they'll run away. They won't listen to me, no matter how I beat them. If I leave them with you, won't they cause trouble for you? Chang, who was really tempted, not to mention whether he could learn to be as sensible as the other children. Even the food and drink at the foot of the mountain was better than on the mountain. However, he heard that when Zhang Zhong came, the 7 children had their own big houses, the kind with wheels below, and there were specialized doctors to take care of them. If he really sent them down, they wouldn't have to worry about getting sick. They could eat well and play well. They could even learn how to read and write with other children. Look at other children. They could actually use a branch to write their names on the ground. If they learned it, when they met people from other strongholds in the future, they could squat there and write their names. That would be so embarrassing. Now, he could only be envious of other children. When Zhang Zhong saw that Chang, whose words had some meaning, he immediately said, Don't worry. Children run around looking for things to play with. I have a lot of toys. As long as there are children to play with, they'll be safe. This matter is settled. We'll take them back at night. The more the merrier. This time, Chang, who didn't insist and happily agreed. Suddenly, he thought of something and said, "Brother Zhang, how about this? I'll look for people from other strongholds to pick fruits together so that your family can brew more wine." "Really? Then Brother Chang, who has helped me a lot, drink." Zhang Zhong was completely relieved. He raised the bowl and drank it all. Chapter 610. Fruits are fragrant in autumn, and people are busy picking them in Ezhou. Rich people look forward to skiing, and craftsmen work hard to burn vats. Zhang Zhong, who was drunk, refused Chang Hu's invitation to stay before nightfall. He took Chang Hu's son and daughter with him and left the stronghold to prepare for the relevant matters. The next morning, Chang Hu, who had sobered up, remembered what he had said the day before. He quickly gathered the adults and children in the stronghold to pick ripe fruits in order to help Zhang Zhong's family make wine. Zhang Zhong found the 3 old men to discuss sending invitations to various hedonistic sons and daughters of wealthy families to come here and play. He also found nearby craftsmen to make vats for fermenting fruits. He also posted notices in the city, asking the people in the city to help the craftsmen as much as possible so that they could learn the craft and make vats for themselves in the future. With Chang Hu taking the lead, the people in his stronghold began to work hard. With such a big commotion, it was difficult not to alert others. Chang Hu, who was thinking about how to get the other strongholds to help him pick the fruits, did not have to take the initiative to look for others before they all came to him. When the people in the nearby strongholds found out that wild fruits could be exchanged for money, and that the officials who treated them to food, drinks, and dancing would make a fortune, they happily joined in. 3 days later, piles of fruits were delivered to the prefectural city of Wing Prefecture. Zhang Zhong's family had also hurriedly built a temporary residence. A large part of the adobe city wall had been dug up, and they hadn't had time to rebuild it yet. They had to wait until the fruits were almost harvested and the autumn harvest was over before they found the local people to do it. After another day, the people that Zhang Zhong had sent out in advance returned with carts of daily necessities. They began to pay the local people for the fruits. This was because the local people were used to bartering. When Zhang Zhong paid for the fruits on the first day, Chang Hu was worried. He didn't know how to go out and use the money to buy things. He was afraid that people would deliberately ask them for more money. He told Zhang Zhong that it was better to use things to barter. They all knew how much their things were worth and weren't afraid of being cheated. Zhang Zhong was speechless. How could they not be cheated when using things to barter? When Zhang Zhong heard Chang Hu say that they had a fixed person to exchange with, he understood that they were being controlled. Seeing Chang Hu's awkward expression, he could only send someone to buy something. As a result, the largest and most comprehensive store in Wing Prefecture City was created. It was responsible for trading with the locals and purchasing all kinds of furs and medicinal materials at 80% of the price of goods sold outside. The remaining 20% was included in the transportation fee. When the people in the nearby villages learned about the market situation outside and found out the price of the items they had exchanged, they all clamored to go out and kill the people in the shop who had exchanged with them. A bear skin could be sold for 15 strings of coins, and the better ones could even be sold for 20 strings of coins. The salt they bought with that much money was enough to feed a village of 100 people for 2 years, and there was still leftover salted meat. In the past, they could only exchange for a scoop of salt, which they thought was cheap. If they ate sparingly, it could feed the people in the village for more than a month. How could Zhang Zhong let them go out and cause trouble? He persuaded them in every way possible and promised that the store in the city would continue to provide all kinds of daily necessities in the future. He would also be responsible for collecting money and going out to buy the designated items. Of course, this required the local people to get used to using money as currency in the future. The people held back their grievances of being cheated and began to work harder to pick fruits for Zhang Zhong. They acknowledged Zhang Zhong's position in their hearts. He was a good official. He even told them such an important thing. At the same time, a few people who were the most proficient in speaking official language were also dealt with. They were the people who often brought people out to trade. In Izhou Prefecture, they actually had a big house and many good lands outside. Needless to say, everyone understood what was going on. After solving the income problem of the people in the nearby villages, Zhang Zhong began to prepare to let the people in the distant villages know about the situation here. However, before he could send people to the villages further away in the mountains to think of a way to persuade them, the people in the distant villages accidentally learned about the situation here. Gongshi was the son of the chieftain of Little Bear Village, Gongmu. His father was old and wanted to pass on the chieftain's position to him. However, this year did not seem to be good. The continuous rain made the crops in the fields not even half as good as last year. In addition, there was an accidental fire in the village, which burned a lot of linen and the furs they were going to trade for. They did not know how to survive this year's winter. He had to think of a way for the people in the village. He had to take the people in the village outside to see if he could find some work that they could do with their strength. When winter came, they could trade for some food and linen before coming back. At that time, they might be able to survive the winter. They would not have to suffer from the cold because of the continuous rain. With this thought in mind, Gongshi turned around and looked at the strongest person in the 20 villages walking behind him. He looked at the sky and saw that it was almost dark. He thought that there was a village not far from here. Perhaps they could go there to have a good rest, or they could continue on their journey and live in the city. Hurry up, hurry up. We don't have to sleep outside today. Hurry up. Gongshi shouted at the people in the village and began to speed up. He lowered his head and looked at his feet as he moved forward. The people in Little Bear Village also knew that this was a mission. They had never done this before. When faced with the unknown, they felt a bit of worry in their hearts, but also a bit of excitement and expectation. They were prepared to do a good job outside, and when they came back, they would become heroes of the village. Therefore, they, who had already been on the road for more than 10 days, didn't care about the fatigue of their bodies at all. They followed behind their future chief, hoping to have a good sleep in the city and eat a full meal, so that they could save up enough strength to work. When it was almost nighttime, the sky became overcast. Those familiar with the weather knew that there would not be rain. At midnight, they might be able to see the stars, so they didn't have to worry about being soaked through like they had been a few days ago. Just as the group of people picked up their pace and jogged forward, many dots of light suddenly appeared in front of them. They swayed and illuminated the people nearby. There were actually many people holding torches and swaying in that direction. It was unknown what they were doing. With curiosity in his heart, Gongshi couldn't help but stop and look in front of him in a daze. The people behind him also stopped and pondered. The people in front of them didn't rest early at night, but instead ran up the mountain to do something. After thinking for a while, Gongshi, who still couldn't figure it out, began to slowly move forward. When he got closer, he let out a sigh of relief. He recognized the people in front of him. They were the people from the mountain village who couldn't make it in time to stay for the night. Not only were there adults, but there were also children climbing up and down. When he discovered the other side also noticed that there were people moving around. Because they didn't light torches, the other side couldn't clearly see who they were. Immediately, a group of people gathered together and shouted at them in a chaotic manner. "Is Chang Mountain here? It's me, Gongshi of Little Bear Village." Gongshi didn't want to misunderstand and let the other side shoot a bunch of arrows. He hurriedly shouted at the top of his lungs, his voice echoing in the mountains. After shouting, Gongshi signaled the people behind him to not move. He walked forward alone. When they were within the range of a torch, the people on the other side finally relaxed their vigilance. A person holding a bow walked out from the crowd and came in front of Gongshi. He laughed and said, "Brother Gongshi." "Sure too. Why did you come here? You must be tired. Come, eat some fruit." Later, come to my place and drink some wine. Good wine. The new official surnamed Zhang wants to sell it. Yesterday, when I was picking fruit, I caught a deer. I gave half of it to the official surnamed Zhang, but the other half hasn't been eaten yet. Just in time, I'll let you taste it. The new seasoning is different from before. Chang Mountain was very enthusiastic. His enthusiasm made Gong Shi feel as if he didn't know Chang Mountain. Generally speaking, if a deer was caught, it would be taken outside to exchange. Whether it was deer skin or deer meat, the exchange was more than usual. If a deer was caught alive, it would be even more amazing. How could he be willing to eat it? What puzzled Gong Shi the most was what kind of official had come and even gave him half of one. Could it be that this new official was so powerful that he could control the people here? With doubts in his heart, Gong Shi first waved his hand to the people behind him and asked the people in the stronghold to come over. He asked Chang Mountain puzzledly, "What's the new official? How many people did he bring?" "A big official, the most senior official. The whole Wing Prefecture has to listen to him. Even that Fong guy has to listen to him when he sees him. He has a lot of people, almost 2,000. The city can't accommodate all of them, so he tore down the city wall and built houses there. When the houses are built, people can live in them. When it gets cold, they have to rebuild them." Chang Mountain passed a fruit in his hand to Gong Shi and took a bite. He said while chewing. After hearing this, a trace of worry appeared between Gong Shi's eyebrows. He looked at the people in the stronghold who were picking wild fruits and said sympathetically, "Is it because he has a lot of subordinates? You can't beat them, so he forced you to take a lot of things. You have nothing to eat, so you go to the mountain to pick wild fruits to eat? I don't know if they will also go to my little bear village to rob. If they do, I will fight with them." Fight. The people in Little Bear Village also shouted hot-bloodedly. Ha ha ha. Chang Mountain spat out all the fruits in his mouth that he hadn't swallowed. He pointed at Gong Shi and laughed loudly. His other hand was still covering his stomach. It looked really funny. Even the people behind him also laughed. Gong Shi didn't find it funny at all. His face turned red from the laughter. At this moment, a 7-year-old child in the mountain village fished out a piece of candy from a small pouch hanging on his body. He handed it to Gong Shi and said, "This is the first time I've seen you. Uncle Gong, here's some candy for you." The new official is called Zhang Zhong, and his youngest child is called Xiao Bei. Xiao Bei is very fun, and there's also a lot of candy. This is called malt candy, and it tastes like wheat when you put it in your mouth. Zhang Zhong is a good official, so I gave him the deerskin that I got from my family to make a cushion for him. I brought someone to deliver it to him, and his family even let me eat a meal called hot pot with this big prawn. The child was very excited as he spoke and gestured with his hands. Gong Shi was even more confused. He looked at the candy that the child from Chang Mountain's family handed over. He wanted to refuse, but he also wanted to understand. He could only take it in his hand. He carefully squeezed it and found that there was a layer of wrapping on the outside. He peeled off the wrapping and found that there was a translucent thing inside. There was also a layer of glutinous rice paper on the outside. He knew that this thin layer of paper could be eaten, but it was only wrapped on the outside of something delicious. He couldn't hold back the doubt in his heart, and under the child's expectant gaze, he threw the candy into his mouth. A sweet, honey-like taste instantly filled his mouth. "Uncle Gong, is it delicious? I still have a few pieces." The child was looking forward to sharing the candy with others. Gong Shi suddenly had a feeling of recalling the candy he ate several times when he was a child. He was so happy. This candy was obviously better than the ones he ate when he was a child. He wanted to take it out and put it back into the child's mouth, but he felt that it was inappropriate. He could only hold back the idea and ask, "Is this candy very expensive?" "I don't know." One of Xiao Bei's sworn brothers, named Young Man, said that the candy was made by himself. "You can't buy it or exchange it. I know that Xiao Bei's house is very beautiful. There are bright lights inside. Unfortunately, I can't get in. There are 3 floors, and the blanket inside is very smooth." The child didn't know the value of the candy. He only knew that it was delicious. He also knew that Xiaobei's house was beautiful. The courtyard where the house was placed was built first. The ground inside was very smooth stone, which could reflect people's shadows. Gong Shi found that the child couldn't understand it for a while. He had to look at Chang Mountain and wait for him to explain. Chang Mountain's life was better recently. He exchanged a lot of things that he usually needed with fruits, including beautiful porcelain bowls. He was in a good mood. When he saw Gong Shi looking at him, he laughed and told Gong Shi what happened in the past few days. From Zhang Zhong bringing people here, to eating, drinking, and playing outside the city, and then to collecting fruits to make wine, to opening a new shop, and to being cheated when he exchanged things before. The more Gong Shi and the others listened, the more surprised they were. The more they listened, the more they didn't dare to imagine. How could there be such a good official? The one surnamed Fang had never found people to drink, sing, and dance with, let alone exchange things for the wild fruits that no one wanted. Every year, when it was almost winter, the Fang guy would go to the villages one by one and ask the people in the villages to pay the rent and also hand over the land as tribute. If it wasn't for his pitiful appearance, they wouldn't have given him anything at all. The land he was given did not produce much at all. It was the worst land. The new official was so good. He didn't mention the rent and tribute, but collected the fruits as soon as he came. He even sent the good things outside to open a shop in the city. What was his plan? Sure too, since the fruits can be exchanged, we don't need to look for work outside anymore. The people outside are not good. They always bully us. Let the people in the village pick the fruits and send them here. One of the people in Little Bear Village was smarter. He immediately thought of the key point of the problem and came to Gong Shi's side to propose. Gong Shi was no fool. How could he not think of this? But he had other ideas, so he asked, "Then can we also exchange things for tribute?" Yes. This year, Gaoshan Village is prepared to pay more tribute. The rest will be left for the official surnamed Zhang. Chang, whose village, also said that even if the other villages don't pay, they will take care of everything. Changshan said generously. So the official surnamed Zhang is the same as the official surnamed Fang. He wants to use us and is afraid that we won't pay the tribute. He's just giving us benefits first. Gong Shi analyzed. You idiot, do you really think the official surnamed Zhang is the same as the official surnamed Fang? The official surnamed Zhang isn't afraid of not paying. Yesterday, when I brought people to deliver the fruits, the official surnamed Zhang was standing in front of the shop and watching. It just so happened that the imperial court sent a fast horse to deliver the imperial edict. An imperial edict, something written by the emperor. Guess what? If it were any other official, they would have set up an incense table and brought their family to kowtow. But the official surnamed Zhang didn't care at all. He took it, opened it, and threw it to the servant behind him. The person who delivered the imperial edict even had a smile on his face. He didn't dare to say anything disrespectful to the emperor. How could he be afraid of not paying the tribute? Also, after delivering the fruits, I sent people to ask around. Guess what? This time, he wasn't the only official who came. There were several third and fourth rank officials. Later, I heard that the imperial edict wrote that the old man and his family was going to be an official. They were all second-rank officials. His mother was also a second-rank official. What kind of imperial title is that? Even a kid called Xiaobao, who I've never seen before, is a sixth-rank official. The people I sent heard from the 3 old men that the emperor felt that the road was too far, so he didn't give them the money or the official robes. He only sent people to bring a few goldfish bags and told them to prepare everything else themselves. Changshan pretended to be mysterious as he talked about this gossip. The crowd also listened mysteriously. After one of the people in Little Bear's stronghold heard this, he said, "Is it because the emperor doesn't treat his family well? He didn't even give them a reward. I think you're also an idiot." Changshan looked at this person and continued, "This means that the emperor doesn't treat his family well. How could he give them a bad title? How could he treat the imperial edict like that? I saw it clearly when he threw it to others. It was like throwing a rag. Listen to me, you don't have to pay the rent this year. If you do, you'll just be giving the official Serenade Zhang his salary. He may not be used to eating and doesn't care about that bit of food. However, you can only give more, not less. Don't use the tribute to threaten him. Otherwise, before he gets angry, the strongholds on my side won't agree. That's right, we'll definitely pay. We don't have much food, but we have a lot of tribute. It's useless to keep it in our hands, so it's better to give it to him. If it's really like you said, he really doesn't care whether or not he can send tribute to the capital. The emperor also didn't give him a title, so it's even. But if we don't give it to him, he'll be unhappy and think we don't treat him as a brother. Gong Shi finally understood. As for whether or not Changshan was lying to him, he would know when he went down. At the thought of going down, Gong Shi had an idea and said to Changshan, "How about this? Let me take some of the fruit you're picking now. Each of you will carry a basket and see if we can trade. Oh, we have to wait until tomorrow. Then we'll pick the fruit together first and go tomorrow." There's no need. There are people at night too. I can deliver it once in the middle of the night and again before dawn. I'll give each of you a basket. Go and take a look. This shop is open 24 hours a day. There's another place called the hospital. It's also open 24 hours a day. When you go down, go to the hospital first and let the doctor take your pulse. If you're sick, he'll make you medicine. It's not expensive. He said it's included in the 20% profit when you trade for fur and other things. Changshan explained the situation in the city to Gong Shi and the others. At the same time, he signaled the people in the stronghold to give each of them a basket of wild fruit. With hope for a better life, Gong Shi led the others to thank Changshan and went down the mountain. After walking for a long time, the originally tired people felt that they were full of energy again. After walking for more than an hour, they finally arrived at the foot of the mountain. From afar, they could see the prefectural city in front of them and could hear the sounds of singing and musical instruments coming from the brightly lit area outside the prefectural city. Occasionally, the wind would blow over and they could smell the aroma of meat and wine. After walking for a long time, they couldn't help but inhale. The group couldn't help but speed up, wanting to see what was going on down there. When they got closer, Gong Shi and the others finally heard a toast song that they had never heard before. However, it was indeed a song from their side. They didn't know what kind of musical instruments were used, but it was very well coordinated. When they heard it, they had the urge to dance. When they could see people's faces with the help of the light, Gong Shi found another person he knew. This person was squatting next to the person using the musical instrument. It seemed that he wanted to learn. That person also felt that someone was looking at him. When he turned his head and saw that it was Gong Shi, he immediately stood up and approached him. "Sure too, you also heard the news and came here. Just in time. You've been rushing all the way here. Drink a cup of wine first. This wine is very good. 1 cup will make you feel dizzy. Eat 2 roasted fish." "Chang, why didn't you stay in the stronghold and come down here at night?" Gong Shi put down the basket full of wild fruits, rubbed his shoulders, and looked around curiously. "I came down today to see my 2 children. After they eat dinner and go to sleep, I'll come out and join in the fun." Chang, who waved his hand vigorously at the person in charge of delivering the wine. Gong Shi didn't understand why Chang, whose 2 children, wanted to come down the mountain to see. His eyes swept over the people dancing and singing in front of him, then looked at the people around them. He asked Chang, "Didn't you say that there was an official Serenade Zhang here? Where is he? He didn't come out today. Do you want him to accompany you all the time? That's an official. He has official business to do. In the future, I'll be fine here. Except for the rain, every night outside the city is like this. You can sing and dance as you want. However, it is said that after the new year, you have to prepare your own wine and food." Chang, who took the wine that someone brought and handed it to Gong Shi. He sighed with emotion about the situation here. She looked at it in her hand, as if it was medicinal herbs that were everywhere. Then let's try to plant one. Even if it doesn't succeed, we can let people know that there is such a method. Nowadays, people just go and pick them directly. As the tools become more and more advanced, there are no good medicinal herbs left. Now, why do I feel that Guo might not be able to win? Isn't it a little too little to send 15,000 people? I remember that a few years ago, Tubo sent 100,000 or 100,000 soldiers. Jinchuan is such an important place. Who wouldn't arrange more soldiers here? Zhang Xiaobao always had a premonition that Guo would easily rush over and fail to escape back. If he could escape back, it would be fine. If he went with 15,000 people and returned with only a few hundred people, not only would the people of Wangjiang not be able to report their worries, but many people would also die. That would be very sad. Because Wang Wan had cooperated with the people here, she also knew that Jinchuan was not a place to fight. However, if it was her, she felt that there should be hope. The art of war was to use one's strength to overcome the enemy's weakness. As long as the quality of the soldiers was high enough and the logistics were sufficient, she was confident that she could divert the enemy and find a chance to win if she was the commander. If she was given 10,000 bodyguards like Li Sun equipped with horses, she would be the general, and Zhang Xiaobao would be in charge of logistics. She would dare to fight her way to the capital of Tubo. If she was given the people from the Zero Protection Team, she would be able to sweep through all the surrounding countries. It would not be a problem even if she were to fight her way to Arabia. Of course, the premise was that Zhang Xiaobao would organize the logistics for her. She really did not feel at ease with other people. As the two of them talked, the team started. The 56 people of the protection team guarded Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan and did not move. The rest of the people started to practice various tactics according to the previous method. Li Sun's team had already adapted, but Old Man Pai and Old Man Yao's people were much worse. They were not used to such a terrain. When they were going up the hill, they felt that it was nothing. They were similar to Li Sun's people. Everyone was the same. However, when they started their normal training, they realized that things were far from as simple as they thought. In the beginning, because they were full of stamina, they did not know how to conserve their energy when running up the hill. In the process of chasing back and forth, as time passed, they realized that they did not have any energy left. On the other hand, Li Sun's guards were completely unscathed. They were able to execute all the tactical maneuvers. In just half a day's time, 100 people were annihilated by 200 people. The other side actually had 0 casualties. One of Old Man Pai's team angrily found Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan and said to the two of them, "Young master, young lady, this is not fair. They have more people, and we have fewer people. 200 against 100 people. Of course, the 100 people will lose." "Oh, you think so? Good. You have the guts to say what is in your heart. You deserve praise. You guys take a rest first. At the same time, you are responsible for my and Cuckoo's protection work. Let the others continue to train. After 4 hours, the protection team that has finished training will not do any rest and will directly fight against your 100 people. What if you still lose?" Zhang Xiaobao did not expect that someone would find an excuse for himself. During a battle, who cared how many people you had? You were just one person, and the other side would still fight. It was just 2 times the number. How many? In history, there were so many battles where fewer people won. It was not about who had more people. If it was about the number of people, then it would be simple. The 100 people were indeed tired and wanted to have a good rest. They thought that it would be easier to guard Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Therefore, that person said on behalf of everyone, "If we lose again, we will be punished with 50 strokes of the military rod." No need. It hurts so much when the military rod hits the body. I won't hit you. After you lose, you will help out when you go back. No matter what work you are given, you are not allowed to be picky. Even if I ask you to jump into a cesspool to catch maggots, you have to catch enough for me. Otherwise, I will talk to Grandpa Bai. Zhang Xiaobao usually could not command people like them. Now that he finally had the chance, how could he not take advantage of it? This person agreed without thinking. After all, they had never fought against the people from the seedling protection team. Usually, they only heard about how powerful they were. No matter how powerful they were, they only had one nose and two eyes. He did not believe that 100 people could not take care of 50 people. The job of the guards changed. The people from the seedling protection team went to fight against the 200 people from Li Sun's guards. These 100 people wanted to follow Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan to have a good rest. However, Zhang Xiaobao did not intend to let them relax now. If he did not teach them a good lesson, they would not be obedient in the future. In the army, strength was the most important thing. Thinking of this, Zhang Xiaobao said to the 100 people, "How about this? It's boring to be idle. Cuckoo, and I will run 100 steps forward and then hide. You guys find me and cuckoo. How about it? Just treat it as hide and seek." Wang Wan was happy when she heard this. In the past, when she was at home, she could only find a suitable place to exercise, but she could not play as well as she did today. At home, she had to pretend to be dignified when she met others. Today it was really exciting to cooperate with Zhang Xiaobao and play hide and seek with 100 people. She said happily, "Let's do it this way. I'll leave you 2 binoculars. You can use them. You have 2 hours. If you catch them, you will be rewarded with 10 strings of coins. If you don't catch them, you will be rewarded with 10 strings of coins. Is there any objection?" The 100 people looked at the height of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan and thought about their age. They did not take it to heart at all. They nodded and agreed, ready to earn 10 strings of coins. One by one, they rubbed their hands and waited for Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan to run away. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan looked at the surrounding environment, chose a direction, and ran out holding hands. After running 100 steps, they shouted, "Okay, you can come and catch us. As long as you catch us, I will give you 10 strings of coins." The 100 people were excited. They did not need binoculars at all. They could see the clear figures of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan now. It was just that there were more trees, so it was nothing. They spread out and surrounded them, in case Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan ran away. In this way, the 100 people began to play hide and seek. The figures of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan appeared in front of them from time to time, but when they reached the place, they found that they were still so far away. They did not know how the 2 children could run so fast. As they ran, the 100 people found that one person in front of them was missing. Wang Wan was gone, and only Zhang Xiaobao was left. This time, they were confused. Just now, they wanted to catch Wang Wan, but they did not know when she had hidden. The person who complained at the beginning quickly ordered 50 people to look for Wang Wan on the way here. He thought that Wang Wan had hidden while the others were not paying attention, and the remaining 50 people continued to chase Zhang Xiaobao. The more they chased, the more trees there were. If it were not for Zhang Xiaobao's figure flashing from time to time, they really could not find him. This chase went on for an hour. The 100 people who had not had a chance to rest finally felt a little tired. However, they were not willing to take out 10 strings of coins for nothing, so they could only grit their teeth and continue to chase. After chasing for about a quarter of an hour, the person who complained first gestured for the 50 people to stop. He pointed to a place in front of them. There was a big tree there, and beside the tree, a corner of clothes could be seen. If one did not look carefully, they would not be able to see it. Be careful. Surround it and surround this place. We finally caught one. I don't know if the people on the other side have caught Wang Wan. It's better to catch one than not to catch one. When the time comes, it will be hard to determine the winner, so we don't have to worry about taking out 10 strings of coins. The person whispered to the others. The crowd began to disperse and slowly surrounded the place. When the encirclement was successful, the 50 people shouted happily and rushed over. However, when they came close, everyone was dumbfounded. There was only one piece of Zhang Xiaobao's clothes here. It was held up by a stick, and from the angle they found it, there was a corner of it. There was also a piece of paper stuck to the clothes with a few words written on it. "Remember to bring my clothes back." Otherwise, it won't be as simple as 10 strings of coins. What do we do? A person in the team asked. Chase, chase. Pay attention to your feet and look for traces. The person who complained felt that he was sweating uncontrollably. He clearly saw Zhang Xiaobao running over. So how did he disappear in the blink of an eye? The 50 people began to look for traces on the ground again. If they hadn't surrounded him and ran in such a chaotic manner, they might have had a chance to find him. But now, no matter which direction they looked in, it seemed to be in the direction Zhang Xiaobao had left. The 50 people split up again to look for him, but the result was obvious. When Zhang Xiaobao was escaping, he had police dogs. Even so, they couldn't catch him, let alone the 50 of them. These 50 people couldn't find him, and the 50 people who were searching for Wang Wan were also at a loss. Where was Wang Wan? The 50 people discussed for a while and decided that Wang Wan was still with Zhang Xiaobao. They decided to meet up with the 50 people in front of them first. When the 100 people successfully met up, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were eating at the place where they first came out. We made a profit. 10 strings of cash per person. So 100 people will have 1,000 strings of cash. That's enough to do a lot of things. Xiaobao, do you think they could take out the 10 strings of cash per person? Wang Wan sat there and leaned her head on Zhang Xiaobao's shoulder. She ate a hazelnut as she asked Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao held a fruit that he had just plucked. He didn't care that it was so sour that his teeth were about to fall out. He ate it in small bites and replied, "They probably can. They don't usually have much to spend. Their meals are all ours. Just as well. We'll treat the 1,000 strings of cash as food money. If there's a chance in the future, organize a few more such activities. We can't let them take advantage of us for nothing. Then tell me, how do you think Grandpa Bai and Grandpa Yao will treat them when they know about this?" Wang Wan stuffed a hazelnut into Zhang Xiaobao's hand. "That's none of our business. Or we can help them keep it a secret and let them get all of Grandpa Bai's and Grandpa Yao's guards to play hide-and-seek with us. It's still 10 strings of cash. If we win once, we'll give the 100 people a tenth of what we won. If we win 10 times, they can earn back the money they lost. I think this is fine. I'll tell them later." Grandpa Bai and Grandpa Yao have quite a few guards. Perhaps Zhang Xiaobao felt that life was too dull, so he had to bully Old Man Pai and Old Man Yao's guards. He believed that even if they knew that their guards had lost, they could only vent their anger on their guards. Who asked that guard to be so stupid? The 2 hours they agreed on earlier passed quickly. The 100 people knew that they had lost, so they could only return, hoping to see Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. If they couldn't see them, then it would be even more troublesome. Sure enough, when they returned, they saw Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan opening the small tent on their backs. The two of them were sleeping inside. If I knew this would happen, I would have left a few people to guard this place. When they came back, I would have caught them. 10 strings of cash. Do you have enough? The person who complained first complained again and asked the others. They didn't have any money on them now. No one could bring a few kilograms of money out to do things, so they could only go back and give it to the others. The others nodded one after another, indicating that they had enough. However, this money was saved through hard work. They didn't have a military salary, only a monthly allowance. Occasionally, they helped Zhang Xiaobao and Wang deliver things. Only then did they save some money. After taking out 10 strings of cash, they all became poor again. One person didn't understand. He sat on the ground and said, "How did we lose them? We were watching. They were clearly right in front of us, but we lost one when we ran away." As soon as he finished speaking, Zhang Xiaobao's voice came from the tent. "Hurry up and rest. There's less than 2 hours left. The others will be finished, and it's time for you to compete. Let me tell you, Cuckoo and I went to climb the trees. Next time, remember to look for traces. Tracking is a skill. Sleep." After that, there was no sound in the tent. The 100 people looked at each other. They also looked at the trees, but there were too many trees, and they were so dense. How could they know who had climbed a certain tree? Thinking that they would have to compete later, One by one, they lay on the ground. They didn't care if they were wet or not. They closed their eyes and slept, so that they could recover enough energy to compete with the 56 people who didn't have a chance to rest. While waiting for them to sleep soundly, the two groups of people returned. From their expressions, it was really hard to tell who had lost. Li Sun's 200 people hung their heads dejectedly, while the 56 people had gloomy expressions. The tent door opened, and Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan came out. They looked at the two groups of people and asked, "Who lost?" "We lost," the two groups of people said at the same time. While the 100 people were still puzzled by the noise, the leader of the 56 people, Huzi, said very dispiritedly, "We had 56 people to deal with 200 of them, but we actually lost 41 people. Of the remaining 15 people, 9 of them were also judged to be injured. If it was really us who protected the young master and the young lady, the other side sent 300 people like young Master Li's bodyguards. The young master and the young lady couldn't be protected anymore. Later on, we were given special treatment, and the loss was too great. If I had to fight again, I promise to reduce the number of deaths to another time is another time. It has nothing to do with this time. A person only has one life, which means that there are only 6 people who are unharmed. Not bad. It seems that we can continue to increase the intensity of the training. It has been 5 years. You have been trained for 5 years. The special forces have even been trained. Drink some water. We will go against the 100 of them again soon. 7 minutes to prepare." Zhang Xiaobao was very dissatisfied with the data. The 56 people were trained bit by bit according to the training method of the special forces. After 5 years, they actually got such a result. What was the special forces? They were the existence that could take the enemy's general's head from thousands of miles away. Using the special forces, there could only be one result. All right. After all, the training methods we've summarized aren't very scientific. We'll take it slow in the future. Let them accumulate more experience first. When the next batch of people is in place, we'll select them bit by bit. They're directly incorporated into the team. Normal special forces selection is 1 in a million. Wang Wan mediated at the side. Then, she looked at Li Sun's 200 people. These 200 people were now speechless. They had also received training when they were in Luzhou. When they became the guards of the prince's mansion, they were selected again and again. In the end, after a fight, they were all defeated. 200 people against 56 people. Before they could feel sad, the other side had already felt sad. At this time, it was useless to say anything. It was embarrassing. When the young master found out, they did not know what kind of punishment they would face. Chapter 6:12. After resting for a while, the 56 people who were full of anger and the 100 people who were also uncomfortable ran out to fight again. At this time, the 100 people were very careful. They finally understood what the 56 people represented. They were the glory of the Zhang family and the Wang family. They defeated the 200 people they had defeated. Even if they didn't rest, they might not be able to win. As for what the 56 people said, they couldn't guarantee the safety of the young master and young lady because the other side had 300 people. They didn't believe it. They were exactly 100 people. They were fooled just now. If they lost again this time, they estimated that they would need at least 500 guards like Commandery Princely to catch the young master and young lady who were protected by the 56 people. It was no wonder that Zhang Zhong let the young master and young lady out. It turned out that the 100 people who chased after them were the weakest. They were 100 steps ahead of them, but they couldn't even catch the 2 children. Who else in the country could threaten the young master and young lady? There was no need to mention the result of the confrontation between the 100 people who were scared before the battle and the 56 people who were waiting to vent their anger. 4 of the 56 people died, while the 6 people who were affected by the battle ended up completely annihilating the 100 people. This was under the rule that they had the same weapons. If they had used the weapons specially prepared by the young master and young lady, they believed that there would be no problem in killing the 300 people. Well, it was just in a forest. In order to help the guards of Grandpa Bai and Grandpa Yao improve, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan also specially taught them tactics, the application of terrain, camouflage, and psychology. Even though the 56 people and Li Sun's 200 people had already learned, they also listened carefully. This was because the young master and young lady would add new content in every lesson. Even if the general idea was the same, the details were absolutely different. There were also examples that the two people found somewhere. It was the first time that the 100 people of Old Man Pai and Old Man Yao had listened to such a lesson. The more they listened, the more shocked they were. At this time, they understood that they didn't lose unjustly. While they were slowly exploring, the other side had already formed a whole set of theories. Especially the psychology part, the analysis of human nature made people tremble. Thinking back to himself, that was indeed what he was thinking at that time. Even his thoughts had been grasped by others. How could he not lose? That's all for today's class. In a while, we'll massage each other to relieve fatigue. After eating, have a good rest. At the same time, think about what you've learned today. In the next class tomorrow night, I'm going to talk about how to adjust your rhythm when you're tired and excited. Cuckoo will explain it to you. Excitement is the cause of body control errors. Class dismissed. Zhang Xiaobao threw away the stick that was used as a pointer and said to the crowd, "Whoosh." Li Sun's 200 bodyguards and 56 members of Squad 0 stood up at the same time and respectfully bowed to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Their uniform movements shocked the 100 people. They had never seen others act like this before. Today was an eye-opener. They were indeed different. They had actually secretly learned so many things. It seemed that they had to go back and tell Master that they didn't take out the good stuff. Just as the 100 people had such thoughts, Zhang Xiaobao opened his mouth again and said to them, "Go back and tell Grandpa Bai and Grandpa Yao that I, Xiaobao, said that if they want to train military officers, they should arrange for smart people to come over. I will only say the same thing once with Cuckoo. Learn as much as you can, and don't answer any more questions after class. Cuckoo, and I don't have time for that. Also, the most important thing is that they have to be literate. If they don't understand, don't blame others. We will only teach 100 people at a time. The quota is limited, so you have to cherish it. Yes, all of you, just tell the truth. If anyone dares to mix their emotions in, don't blame me and Cuckoo for being rude." The 100 people were scared out of their wits. How did he know when they had just had such thoughts? Furthermore, he had even mentioned all the details. After Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan finished their lessons, they began to rest. During this period of time, the two of them wanted to train everyone, especially Grandpa Bai and Grandpa Yao's people, so that they would be useful in the future. During the days when Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were training people, the people in the various strongholds in Wing Prefecture were busy picking fruits. No matter how far away they were, they all received the news. Countless fruits were sent to the prefecture in Wing Prefecture. The craftsmen from outside also burned many large vats to ferment the fruits. A portion of the charcoal that Zhang Xiaobao had people purchase earlier was used to turn the red pond into white sugar. After that, it was processed into rock sugar so that it could be used to make wine together with the fruits. When this portion of charcoal was delivered, Old Man Pai and the other two were puzzled. When did they buy the charcoal? In the end, after asking around, they found out that they had already been purchasing charcoal when the fleet was sailing on the river. After obtaining this result, the three old men fell into a daze again. This is impossible, absolutely impossible, unless they have an immortal in their family. Didn't they just receive the news on the river? How could they have started preparing? Could it be that at that time they had predicted that this would be the result? Old Man Chong couldn't accept this fact no matter what. Old Man Pai clearly knew that the Zhang family was magical, but he couldn't help but be shocked again. When he got on the ship, he told Xiaobao and Cuckoo about this mission. At that time, they also told the Zhang family that they couldn't find an expert. In a short period of time, the provisions were prepared and the transportation problem was solved. This was already shocking enough, but this time, they even considered the current situation. What was wrong with their heads? They had calculated to this extent. After listening to Old Man Chang's words, he said with deep sympathy, "Indeed, the news just came back. If all of this started after we told them about the situation, then I really don't know what they can't do." That's right, that's what I thought too. The news that just came back was sent by Great General Guitu from Pengzhou. Along the way, they actually opened a path in the mountains and built bridges in the rivers. In the rain, they even built shelters and made food. Then, they prepared a fleet to send the soldiers to the border. Originally, they thought that they would arrive in 10 days if the weather was good, but in the end, they arrived in 8.5 days if the weather was bad. Look at the words that General Guitu wrote at the end. This is logistics, the real logistics. The logistics of Izhou is unparalleled in the world. The Zhang family's logistics matters were told after they got on the ship. If they had told us before, I have no doubt that the Zhang family would have sent the logistics camp to Jinchuan to supply our troops. Old Man Yao thought about everything that had happened after they arrived in Izhou. The first thing he felt was powerlessness. He and the others had been keeping an eye on them, but in the end, they couldn't do it. They couldn't even keep up with their rhythm. Yes, rhythm. This word was used too well. It was like playing chess. While he was thinking about how to make the knots, the other side had already started to count. There was a big gap. Thinking of this, Old Man Yao said, "What do you think will happen if we make trouble for them?" They definitely won't think of it, right? They won't, especially Cuckoo and Xiaobao. How could they think of the 3 grandfathers making trouble for their family behind their backs? These 3 grandfathers are still eating the dishes made by their family, enjoying the medical conditions, and always stabbing them in the back when they are accompanying them to relieve their boredom. Hearing Yao Chang's words, Old Man Chang was dissatisfied. They were eating other people's food, receiving benefits from them, and being respected by them. How could they still want to make trouble behind their backs? If they really did such a thing, his grandson Xiao Bao and granddaughter Cuckoo would be completely gone. Then, they would just have to wait for the other side's revenge. What kind of situation would that be? Looking at the way the Zhang family handled things, it was obvious. For those who directly opposed them, they would use soft-heartedness and suppression. But for those who betrayed them, they would definitely launch an overwhelming attack. As long as they achieved their goal, they would do anything. Old Man Pai was also dissatisfied. He looked at Yao Cheng, meaning to say, "UNG, have you forgotten who led a team to save you when you were about to die? Whose family's doctors and fast boats were used? If you didn't have a past with the Zhang family, you would have to die. I'm just asking. I don't intend to do that. The Zhang family is too powerful. I suddenly had the idea of competing with them. If this goes on, I will die of discomfort." How could Yao Cheng not know the meaning of the 2 old men? He quickly explained. He really didn't intend to make trouble behind their backs. At that time, he really felt like he was going to die. Later, Old Man Pai came and stabilized his condition. Then he went to Xuzhou. As soon as he met the Zhang family and Wang family, he was specially taken care of. The most powerful medical team of the Zhang family, or the most powerful medical team of the Tang Empire, kept checking his pulse, giving him a prescription, and contacting the people in the restaurant. Since then, what he had to do every day was regulated. What he could eat, what he couldn't eat, how he could eat, and how much he could eat. It was so detailed that it was hard to imagine. It was precisely because of this that his body gradually improved, and he could occasionally drink like now. Just the cost of the medicine and food alone was more than a few thousand strings of coins. If he was stabbed in the back, there was no need for the experts of the Zhang family to take revenge. All the officials of the Tang Empire who knew about this matter, including the emperor, would immediately deal with him. Enemies were not hateful, but ingratitude was the most intolerable. Chapter 613. They collected a lot of fruits and shipped them out in batches while they were fermenting. They were sent to the outside and sent to the capital by ship to continue fermenting there. When Zhang Zhong saw that most of the fruits had been picked and the local people had exchanged for the necessities they needed, he gathered the chiefs of the strongholds to drink and have fun with them. The chiefs of the strongholds were quite satisfied with Zhang Zhong, the new official. He didn't use his official status to pressure them like the other officials. Of course, they weren't afraid of him. During the days when Zhang Zhong was here, he was like a brother to the locals. He did things from the perspective of a brother, which made the chiefs feel very comfortable. Because some of the people were near and some were far away, Zhang Zhong had no choice but to first prepare the things and settle the people who came first. After all, the matters to be discussed later required the participation of all the patriarchs. If he told a portion of the people in advance, the people who came later would not be willing. Fang Sima, how many people are missing? Zhang Zhong sat in the yamen and asked Fang Sima, who came with a list. Sir, we are missing 2 people. It is estimated that they will arrive in less than 2 days. Sir, do you want to summon all of them here now? Fang Sima replied respectfully. He now not only admired Zhang Zhong, but also feared him. He had been the Sima of Wing Prefecture for 6 years. In the past, it was very troublesome to do things every year. The local people didn't cooperate at all. He didn't dare to scare them. If he didn't scare them, it would be easy for them to rebel. When Zhang Zhong came, he thought that Zhang Zhong would do the same thing as him. When it came to collecting tribute, he would go to each stronghold to discuss it. Who knew that this was not the case at all? Zhang Zhong came here to have fun, and he even built a good relationship with the local people while he was having fun. Now, it was needless to say that all the strongholds recognized Zhang Zhong as the new official. From this, it could be seen that the Zhang family was not only good at business, but also as officials. His son had indeed found a good place in the academy. He could not afford to offend him. Even if this Zhang Zhong was much younger than him, he still had to look up to him. Otherwise, he would lose his chance. Fang Sima had been warning himself like this for the past few days to avoid making a mistake and provoking Zhang Zhong's displeasure. Zhang Zhong also wrote a letter back because of his relationship with Fang Sima. He asked the people there to take care of Fang Sima's son. It would be best if he could become a jinshi and get a high position. Zhang Zhong shook his head and said, "No, even if it's just one person, we have to wait for him. If something happens to him on the way, I'll have to go and ask him personally. Then we'll have to wait for another person from the stronghold to come here and discuss this matter. What about the limestone that I asked you to purchase under the name of the government? That's the key to the success or failure of this matter. We can't be careless. Sir, it's all ready. The people who took the job are burning it. If we don't give them the money now, they'll be worried. This is not the first time they've asked someone to tell me. Should we give them some benefits first?" Fang Sima didn't understand why Zhang Zhong wanted to buy so much limestone. He asked people to burn it, and he also asked people to pick it. He even used the government's name to buy it. Even now, he still owed money. If it was a normal business, he would have stopped doing it long ago. Zhang Zhong was not worried at all. He said to Fang Sima, "Don't worry. If anyone wants to quit, tell them to send the finished goods over and pay immediately. But they won't use their goods in the future. Let's see how many people can stay in the end." "Sir, where do we get the money from?" Fang Sima did not think that the manor could take out the money. "Of course, it's from my family. There's no need for the rest. It's better to use the government's means to solve the problem. Now I understand that as long as it's not necessary to use my family's money, I won't use it." Zhang Zhong was going to experiment with his idea in Wing Prefecture. That was, his family would not easily invest money in it unless they had no other choice. After everything was arranged properly, the 2 human leaders who had arrived late had finally arrived. The meeting could begin. Old Man Pai and the other 2 also came to join in the fun. They wanted to see what other tricks the Zhang family had. At the same time, they wanted to verify their own guesses. Sometimes, this kind of game was really interesting. even if they guessed wrong. One by one, the patriarchs sat in the hall, waiting for Zhang Zhong's arrival. At this time, they did not have the usual idea of calling each other brothers. After all, Zhang Zhong invited them in the name of the government. Of course, it was different. In the past, if anyone dared to invite them in the name of the government, they would not come. They would be lucky if they did not fall out with him. But now, they did not feel disgusted with Zhang Zhong at all. Zhang Zhong had brought them a lot of benefits, especially the hospitals in the city. Many people had been treated after they came here. In addition, they collected fruits and exchanged goods with the shops. The lives of the 4,000 or so people in Wing Prefecture were much better. Not to mention other things, they could eat salt every day for every meal. Compared to the past, it was really unbearable to look back on. Zhang Zhong did not make any long-winded speech. He directly told them his plan, which was a part of the plan left by his son. Yes, a part. After this, there would be more. It was the kind of plan that was closely linked. He had not seen it for a long time. This time, it finally appeared again. Old Man Pai and the other two also listened carefully. There was not much content. It was very simple. It was to build a dam in a place that was suitable for each village. It did not need to be big, just small ones. They would store the snow water on the mountain. The materials for building the dam had been prepared. As long as the patriarchs agreed, it could be implemented in a few days. This should be to burn the cement locally. It is estimated that after it is burned, the place will be flattened immediately. This secret cannot be leaked out. Old Man Zhang held a glass of wine in his hand and took small sips as he spoke. His wine was not for him to drink casually. Old Man Bai and Old Man Yao did not have the medicinal wine that was specially prepared for him. The main reason was that he had always practiced hard skills in the past and did not take care of his body. When he was older and in such an environment, his joints could not take it anymore. The pain could no longer be alleviated according to the treatment methods in the past. Fortunately, there was a good person in the medical team of the Zhang family who wrote a new prescription. That was to drink half a liter of ant wine a day. The alcohol content was not high, but it was pure grain wine. With hot water packs and massage, the pain was not so bad yesterday. He continued to drink today. Old Man Pai also wanted to drink, but was stopped. He could only stare. When he heard Old Man Chang's words, he said, "We all know that we need to use cement, but the question is what to do next. What is the purpose of building a dam? Storing water and then irrigating it. This is something that everyone can understand. It is definitely not the Zhang family's way of doing things. I understand now. If you want to know what the Zhang family is going to do, you have to think about it in an abnormal way. The more you think about it, the closer you are to the truth. In my opinion, the Zhang family is building a dam here. First, it is not entirely for irrigation, and second, it is not entirely for the purpose of raising fish and shrimp. This is the most correct consideration in the eyes of others, but it is not suitable for the Zhang family. Think about it. Other than these two, what else can the dam be used for? What else can it be used for? It is convenient to wash clothes. They don't have to find a river, and they don't have to dig a well to draw water. Does that count? Old Man Yao also agreed with Old Man Pai. If the Zhang family's plan was so easy to guess, then the Zhang family was not the Zhang family. That would be disappointing. That counts as one, but I don't think it is possible. The Zhang family is not stupid. They would spend a lot of money to build a dam to make it convenient for others to wash clothes. I think they will put a boat on it and wait for tourists to come, Old Man Chang added. Old Man Pai was now confident. He said to the two of them, "After listening to you, I know that the Zhang family will not build a dam specifically for irrigation. They will not raise fish, wash clothes, or boat. I have concluded that whatever other people can think of is not the Zhang family's main purpose." Then why not? Old Man Chang asked. For example, we know that charcoal is used to filter sugar. That is definitely not the most important step. Otherwise, why would the Zhang family only use a part of the charcoal they bought? They even bought it in advance. Could it be that they did not think that the wood here can also be used to burn charcoal? It is not possible that they prepared it for skiing. Old Man Pai believed in his intuition and said with certainty, just as the three old men kept guessing and denying, Zhang Zhong had finished the arrangements. All the chiefs of the strongholds agreed with Zhang Zhong's idea. It was not that they thought it was a good idea, nor was it because of Zhang Zhong's official position. It was because they felt that since their brother had brought up this matter, they had to give him face no matter what. Anyway, they did not have to pay for it. They just had to put in some effort. When the time came, they would benefit. If they did not do it well, they would help their brother. They could not be laughed at by outsiders. Since their brother was an official here, they had to support him. They had to let the people who wanted to see a joke know that their brother's words represented the people of Ijo. It was a very simple way of thinking. Regardless of the result, whether it was right or wrong, once Zhang Zhong brought up the matter, they would do it. This was because they all regarded Zhang Zhong as a brother. Zhang Zhong also understood their thinking. His son's plan was based on this. He said that the local people were actually the best people. If the official did not do well, it was the official's problem. The local people could be summarized in the simplest words. If the king treats me like a country scholar, I will repay him like a country scholar. When you treated them as brothers and sisters, they also treated you as a brother. When you wanted to use the identity of an official to suppress them, then you just had to wait. In the face of such a situation, if you wanted to use the army to solve it, you would know that the people were not afraid of death. You could only use death to scare them. Zhang Zhong succeeded. He was the first person, other than Zhuge Liang, to be recognized by people as a non-ethnic person. This was because he had the people in his heart. After arranging everything, the details and follow-up matters would be slowly told to each clan leader in the future. Zhang Zhong took this opportunity to have a good time with everyone. Therefore, wine and meat were prepared. In the inner courtyard of the Zhang family, Xiao Hongqian, who was singing and dancing, and the night was long without dawn. Everyone spent a night that they had never had before. Everyone was present. It was worth remembering. While the people of Ijo were busy building the dam before the autumn harvest, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wen also finished the 10th day of lessons. Just as the two of them were preparing to continue the training, Peng Zhou suddenly sent someone to deliver a message. When Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan saw the message, they really couldn't believe that Guitu was stupid enough to directly use all the troops in one place. He didn't even feint or restrain them. Does he think that his army is 150,000? That's only 15,000 people. The most infuriating thing is that he didn't capture or kill the people along the way. Isn't that stupid? He's too soft-hearted. Since it's a war, it's either you die or I die. Look at what happened now. We were discovered in advance, and the logistics provisions were burned. Wang Wan complained with a gloomy face. She didn't know what Guitu was thinking. He led such a small number of people, but he still let the local people do what they were supposed to do in the past. At this time, if you can't do it, you can only wait for others to do it. As a general, would he be afraid of carrying too many wrong souls? How good would it be to go home and be a farmer? Zhang Xiaobao also didn't expect Guitu to do such a thing. Did he think that he was an international peace organization or a member of the peacekeeping force? This was an invasion. What was there to say about invasion? Those who should be killed would be killed, and those who should be burned would be burned. When the time came, he would take all the blame. So what if he killed more people? The people of the motherland would remember his kindness. The Japanese killed a lot of people, but didn't they still have a shrine? The more he thought about it, the angrier he became. After carefully reading the message twice, Zhang Xiaobao said gloomily, "Who the F***ck made the imperial court's decree? Why didn't they come earlier or later? Why did they have to come at this time? They said that they wanted us to follow the vanguard to victory. Damn it, from the imperial court to here, the news would take a long time to spread, right? Did they really trust Guitu that much? They even let us follow behind him. I'm so angry. This is good. The officials of Pengzhou don't have to worry about dereliction of duty." Wang Wan was also very helpless. She knew that this was the imperial court's compensation for her and Xiaobao's family. They thought that Guotu could fight to the end and achieve a perfect victory, so letting them follow him was an advantage. When the time came, they would continue to receive benefits when they contributed. It should be Li Longji. He felt that it was wrong to directly transfer my father from Shuzhou to Yingzhou and hide the situation. He used this war to gain benefits for my family. But why didn't he think about it? Guotu isn't like other generals. He was stunned when he went up. I admit defeat. Could it be that Li Longji's luck is so good that he knew that I made preparations? All right, let's go back. Let's go back to Pengzhou and continue to reinforce Great General Guotu's day. Damn it. I should have done what I should have done. If I didn't use the resources on him, I could have done something else. Great. Now I didn't earn the money I should have earned. Zhang Xiaobao was really helpless at this time. He couldn't blame Li Longji. He had good intentions. If possible, he really wanted to strangle Guotu and let Wang Wan command the army. At least, he couldn't make such a stupid mistake. Fortunately, Wang Wan was also a talented student. She couldn't attack, but she didn't know how to defend. Wang Wan was also very depressed. She called out to the people who were still training and rushed back with the team. Li Longji's order had been issued. They couldn't just leave him in the lurch. This was the place where the logistics were tested. Xiaobao, don't be afraid. When we resisted the United States and aided Korea, we received the most classic strangulation tactic used by the United States Air Force. We survived. So why should we be afraid of the current tubo? Wang Wan comforted Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao wasn't someone who didn't know anything. He immediately retorted, "What does that have to do with us?" At that time, their planes were flying everywhere. If the Soviet Union didn't join the war and send so many outstanding pilots and planes, do you really think that the anti-aircraft guns hidden in the mountains and the trains would be useful? Then what should we do? We can't do anything even if we tell them. Should we just let them wait for their deaths? Wang Wan asked. Zhang Xiaobao took 2 deep breaths and said to Wang Wan, "Cuckoo, actually in my heart, I've always felt or hoped that Guotu would lose the war and give you a chance. This is also the reason why I borrowed Li Sun's 200 people. I've already prepared everything else. I hope that you can do something at this time to show your value. You've never been a subordinate in my heart. Let's go. I'll show you the workings of an international scam." As Zhang Xiaobao spoke, he pulled Wang Wan onto a horse. The two of them rode together and led the 300 people in the direction of Pengzhou Prefecture. It took them more than 2 hours to reach their destination. The people in the inner courtyard had already prepared everything according to Zhang Xiaobao's instructions. Wang Wan looked at the things Zhang Xiaobao prepared behind her back and couldn't say a word. Everything in front of her was prepared for her by Zhang Xiaobao to show her value. If he didn't need it, he would immediately go into hiding. But now that he needed it, she didn't need to worry about the equipment. As long as she prepared the battle strategy well, everything would be fine. Xiaobao, these things are prepared for the female general in my heart. Right now, you're no longer a member of the Special 2nd Division, nor are you China's Overlord Flower. You're a general who commands thousands of soldiers and horses. Take out everything you've learned before and the battle strategy you've slowly figured out after coming here. Let me see the battle strategy that gathered the wisdom of generations of people. At this moment, Zhang Xiaobao felt that this was the most successful moment of his life. He prepared everything for Wang Wan so that Wang Wan could achieve her dreams, instead of standing behind him as an obedient woman. Wang Wan planted a big kiss on Zhang Xiaobao's face and changed into the armor that Zhang Xiaobao prepared for her. She waved her spear and shouted at the 300 people who were equally shocked. "Let's go and reinforce the front lines. Logistics camp, follow me." The 300 people now knew what they had to do. They also flipped onto the backs of the prepared horses, picked up their weapons, and led the supply and medical teams behind them to follow Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao. While the Pengzhou officials were still in a daze, they rushed out of the pass and headed for Guotu's troops who were blocked on the mountain. You're tuning in to the Echo Reads YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.